Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is another episode of King Me Revs Hype Podcast, the podcast in which we explore the life experiences and mental health of our guests. And today, I genuinely have a gem, someone that I have seen on the independent circuit on a regular basis. And I genuinely feel is a very talented individual. So let me go ahead and introduce them. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all genders, are you prepared to witness excellence? Are you? Right? We have here, she has announced royalty from across the globe, stepped into the ring with distinction, and risen from every challenge stronger and sharper and more resolute than ever before. She has a voice of authority and refinement. Your ring announcer extraordinary caliber, Lauren St. James. Lauren, thank you
Pleasure to
for
be
being here.
here. What an
Yes.
introduction. I stand a little taller now. I'm like, ooh, distinction.
Distinction. Yeah, no, and with all due respect, honestly, genuinely, thank you for being here today. But
Of course.
I remember the first time seeing you. It was just you are a woman of a certain stature, let's say. So
Yeah. The heels
I
help.
was so I was very shocked when you got in the ring, and I was like, "Holy moly, where did that voice come from?" And just like smack in the face, you know what I mean? Just it was extraordinary to just have that kind of power, right? I mean, just absolute power in your voice, very, very commanding, very well, as I said, resolute, right? So yeah, genuinely have had the pleasure of seeing you at the Wrestling Open, at WFA recently. You did the smaller show they had for the Elite Training Center. I always
Yeah.
butcher it, so I'm not gonna say the whole Elite.
They did change their name, but I believe it is currently the Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center.
Okay, all right,
I messed it
yeah.
up at the last show because they had a flyer with the old name I was looking at, and I was like, oh no.
When I covered that one, I made sure to edit that part out for you. So, so I was like, wait, what? And honestly, I didn't know they even changed their name until you said it, and they're like, wait a second, that's not the name anymore. And I was like, wait, that's not the name anymore. What? And then I
Yeah, I
saw the
think it used to
wall.
be the Academy, the Elite Pro Wrestling
Yeah,
Academy.
right,
Neither here nor there. Great school.
right, right. Yeah, no, great school. I mean, Mike Hollow, Scott Reed, you can't really. I mean, you could do as good as, but it's hard to get better than those gentlemen. So
Yeah,
it's pretty
I'll say maybe BioPro's a little higher, just out of personal preference. But no,
personal,
Elite Pro
personal.
Wrestling Training Center's amazing.
Right, right. And I obviously, of course, I love the Bio Pro. I mean, we've had on the Handyman, we've had on, I Blackjack, we've had on Julia Strager. Um, the podcast that I would have just filmed would have been with TJ Crawford. So of
Oh,
course he is an assistant coach at the the at BioPro. So we've definitely had plenty of BioPro family individuals on the podcast, whether it's my just mine or with my daughter or combined. Sometimes we'll do like a crossover episode. And honestly, if it snowed enough and she was stuck at home with me thanks to the snow, she would have been here today asking you a few questions. So
yeah.
she genuinely enjoys and she really wants to get more females on her podcast as well. So
Yeah.
all right, well, thanks for being on here. As I sometimes like to do for my audience, I like to throw a curveball, and I have a curveball question for you, and it's a bit silly, but I was hoping you wouldn't mind.
I don't mind silly. Hit me.
All right. So let's say a major promotion calls,
Okay.
WWE, AEW, TNA. They offer you a dream spot, right? They're like, we want you as the next one. NXT. You're going to be the NXT announcer, right? But the catch is every match you announce for an entire year, you have to wear a penguin suit. All right? Do you take the job and be out there in this penguin suit? do you not take the job? And the question is, I mean, if you take the job, are you going to go full into the gimmick and just ham it up? What are you going to do?
In a heartbeat, I'd take it. Absolutely. It would just be what if they say to make penguin noises, I will walk out there waddling, making penguin noises. I mean, I don't know. I've made a profession of making a fool of myself sometimes. I've gotten the chance to work at well, that's a bit of a rude way of putting it, but I've gotten the chance to do some maybe more bizarre things in wrestling. Um, I've gotten to work with wrestling with character a good amount in recent years, where I'm let's say I'm friends with Tinsel the elf, Tinsel the holiday hijinks elf, who gets to go out, run the arts and crafts station, do dance numbers, wrestle occasionally. I think last time I was there, I went on a date with Love Doug. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, no, oh, you gotta love Doug. But yeah, I don't think a penguin costume would throw me off too badly.
Which is wonderful. And I completely have to agree with you. I love Doug. In fact, I can tell people now I am working on getting I if anybody's been paying attention, I just had TJ Crawford on. Um I am now working on getting the rest of Big Business. So Brick City, after the last WFA event that we were both at. I was you were the announcer there. I spoke with Brick City, and we're going to work on a date and time to get that all settled. And same thing with Love Doug. So we're gonna eventually have to get Bacon, I guess. But so I can I
Bacon is a fascinating man. You'll have a lot of fun with him if you get him on the show.
Yeah, I feel like if I get the rest, he'll almost like have to do it, but we'll see. I've definitely enjoyed him in many aspects, but he's been doing Mr. Bacon in Chaotic Wrestling, fighting fighting against the skinny weight champion of the world, Armani Chaos, and it's been very fascinating to see him come back. He had to really drive himself home as the heel because obviously people, I mean, not to say he's never been a heel before, but it's hard not to love.
Charismatic. He's just an absolute
Yes,
monster.
right. So let's just say the Chaotic Faithful did not want to boo him, and he really had to bury us. And the wild thing was about 2 weeks after that, he had a match with, and this is a complete testimony to how great Mr. Bacon is because he had a match with Calvin Dumont, who has been one of the longest standing heels in chaotic wrestling over the past few years. And he got him chanted, and Calvin Dumont became a face. And I've never, my mind felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. I was just like, what? People are cheering for Calvin Dumont? Like,
I'll tell you
people
about
normally.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I think it's been the last 2 weeks. Rain Conway has not lost a match of Wrestling Open in the past 2 weeks. It's like hell's frozen over. It's the most bizarre thing in the world. I couldn't count on 2 fingers how many times he won in the years before this, and now he's won twice. It's the most insane thing to me.
Right? That's a makes me wonder what Drew's got cooking. You know what I mean? It's like, all
What's he
right,
got going on there?
what's he got going on there? Rain, I am in talks to getting him on the podcast as well. Now that you mention it, so but
A
it was
cruel,
just
vindictive, mean person, but probably
yeah,
pretty interesting to talk to.
probably. I mean, as my cup would show to you, and this is Earl Grey, which is my beverage of choice. Thanks to one Sir Patrick Stewart. I don't mind a heelish jerk. All right, so in fact, I remind my daughter on many occasions that I believe if it wasn't for her existence, I would have become the Joker by now because this world is a little much for me at times. But yeah, it was incredible to see how great Mr. Bacon is because he made Calvin Dumont a face in about 5 minutes, and I just my brain could not believe how these people who were once flipping the bird, they were children flipping the bird to Calvin Dumont for years, and all of a sudden they're like, Calvin, we love you, and I'm just like, what is going on? Where are we? So, um, Yeah, absolutely incredible with that regard. If we're talking about heroes, I do have to ask this question.
Okay.
What's it like working with Rich Palladino?
Oh, it's incredible. All right, now I'll have to take you a little bit further back for this because I think me working with Rich has a fun story to it. When I first got interested in professional wrestling, I wasn't actually very young. I was around 15, 16 years old. So I came into a bit later, and I wasn't watching any WWE. I was watching YouTube wrestling. So I was watching a lot of Beyond, um, which made me realize, like, oh, this isn't that far away. So I would take buses, trains, that kind of thing, and I'd come out and I'd see these big Beyond shows. The first guy I ever spoke to at a pro wrestling show was Rich Palladino, and I told him he was my favorite announcer. I bought one of his shirts. We had a great chat, and so when I started training, he recognized me, and then I believe within a year of me starting training, there were 2 weeks where he wasn't going to be available for Wrestling Open. And that gave me an opening where Drew saw that and went, well, you're English and you're getting a theatre degree. You want to try it. And so I got to be trained up by Rich over the first 2 months of the year. And it was just such an amazing experience. I mean, Rich really is the best at what he does. And I'm very lucky to get to work with him. He's just delightful.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. As Rich would have been able to tell you, I've said this to his face about 648 times at this point. He is the GOAT, all right? Howard
Absolutely.
Finkel and everyone else be damned, I don't care. And he would disagree with me. I finally got him to say that he's second best. I badgered him to that much, but he is so humble, but he is genuinely the greatest person to ever do it. So, and he is I have done the fake it till you make it guest spots, as I like to say, and every single time he's just like, good job, kid, go out there and do the thing. And he doesn't big league you. He doesn't act like he's, there's those people who have been doing things as long as he's been doing things, and they think they're better than everybody else. And Rich couldn't be more of the opposite that's ever existed in this universe. So I not too so shocked that you've had a great time with Rich, but also I'm a little jealous, man. I want to be there right there.
Yeah, no, he is an absolute pro. Um, yeah, I mean, what else do you say? He's just the best.
Yeah, what's funny is last night I saw a video of Danhausen, and I could tell by the video, it was like literally a 3 or 4 second clip, that it was Rich Palladino in the background announcing Danhausen at Limitless Wrestling. And
Oh,
the only comment I put a comment in there and it said Rich Palladino is the GOAT. And I just right before you came on, I was looking at my phone because I got someone loved that comment on, and I was like, yeah, it's right. You better not say otherwise.
yeah.
So I know, and this is maybe you've explained this to other people before. So obviously you're not from America, is that correct?
No, I'm not from America.
What brought you across the pond?
Oh, I moved over quite a long time ago, actually. I moved with my family when I was in school. So I've spent a long time in the US, comparatively, about God, by now it'd be about 10 years.
So, and you talked about it a little bit, YouTube Beyond Wrestling. What was it that made you realize that this was more than just fandom, that you needed to get involved?
I mean, let's I think it was. Now this is an odd one. I think it was Chuck Taylor. I used to watch his on the road interview series on High Spots. So it was him and it was Trent Beretta, and they would just interview people on like couches in hotel rooms, and these were just appalling. I honestly wouldn't recommend going back and watching them because it's literally just them talking about like how they go to the bathroom and what their favorite dinosaur is. Like it's really just ridiculous. But there was something about just seeing what life was like on the road and how everyone just kind of knew each other and the stories, and it just made me think like I already did theater, I already did performance stuff, but this seemed like the right avenue. The things I didn't like about theater weren't there in wrestling, and the things I did like about wrestling were in theater. So it felt like the right time to try it. I was moving to Worcester for school anyway, and I just thought, if I don't try it, I'm going to spend the rest of my life regretting that I didn't try it, you know?
Yeah, no, I can actually say I have a very similar story myself, to be fair, because last year at WrestleMania, I had the absolute pleasure and luxury of being able to hang out with um the gentlemen of YouTube's finest, whether you're talking about Simon Miller or the rest of the What Culture team. They were having they had a viewing party for SmackDown on the Friday night, and then for Saturday and Sunday, Simon Miller hosted live ups and downs at like 11 o'clock at night at the Luxor at a very open aired bar. And being someone myself, I went to the Art Institute of Phoenix to get a bachelor's degree in digital filmmaking and video production. And in my brain, doing stuff like this was always out of grasp because there was a lot of money and moving parts. But seeing what they were doing, I realized I was in the past, that the technology has caught up to the point where I don't need a super expensive camera to do things. I don't need XYZ programs because CapCut exists, right? And talking to those guys and literally just picking their brains on things, I was like, oh, why haven't I done this more? And then quite frankly, it is March 6th as we're speaking. It's going to be a very busy weekend for me because I actually have three podcasts today,
Wow.
and a fourth one on Sunday. All four I'm very excited for, by the way.
Dare I
But
ask who?
oh,
As a little
so
teaser
yeah,
for the
I
future.
can definitely tell you. So tonight I have, and it's going to be separate, but it's going to be both halves of the breadwinners, which is kind of, a funny term. They're both halves, but we will have Cash Money McGinnis and we will have Patrick Wheatman. So very exciting. And then on Sunday will be the Mind Eraser Mike Grassa. And if she is fully available, we will salt and pepper in the lovely Katie Prescott. So very excited for those ones, especially for Mike Rossa and Katie Prescott. My daughter JJ, as you have met and taken photos with, she thinks of Mike and Katie as her wrestling parents, and she's adopted them as wrestling parents. And I actually told this to Landon on air. I was like, he kind of changed the lexicon in our household because in preparation for his podcast, I watched like 6 or 7 podcasts with him in it, and he kept talking about his wrestling dad, the great Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just stuck in the household. So then all of a sudden, JJ's looking for wrestling parents. And so now she actually has two sets. We have Cat Mike, so Katie Prescott and Mike Grassa, who are genuinely wonderful and amazing human beings. And the other would be Jaleesa and Mortar. So she calls them Jal Mortar. She always has to give them ship names. I
Oh.
don't get it. Maybe I'm too old. I'm 40. I don't understand this stuff. But she gives them ship names, and now my daughter has emotional support stuffed animals, and she has named two of those stuffed animals after her parents, her sets of wrestling parents. And they've all four of them have been nothing but the utmost courteous and kind to my daughter, so I appreciate them very much. So, but yeah, with that being said, it's going to be a busy day. I got plenty of Earl Grey ready to go, and might even kick in some Irish breakfast just to keep the
You're like,
things going.
I'm going to tell you a very deep, dark secret of mine. And it's something that I've told other people, and it's genuinely upset them. I don't like tea.
Okay, I mean that makes sense.
As it just, they go, but you're English. Like, I know.
That's racist.
I don't like tea.
Just
I just, my whole family loves it. My whole family. Just not really for me. I do have it every time I announce, though, because it's like the only thing that helps my throat.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hilarious you say that because I would say for, like I said, I'm 40 years old. It probably took until I was like 30-ish to like tea. And it was mostly when I went vegan, gluten free, and changed my diet that my palate changed and I was able to taste the more refined, flavors and notes in there. So otherwise, this would just be a giant pot of coffee from. I even that I just drink it black anyways. But that's and that's people just assume it's like, yeah, but not every American wants a cheeseburger every day. So is it a shocking revelation? Like, come on, guys. She lives in America now.
I will say tea is very culturally English. Like
Yeah,
you could have a police officer stop by your house and you'd be like, "Do you want a cup of tea?" It's not just something in television. Like it's fully like an expectation. Somebody's at your house. Do you want tea? Like
right.
it's part of the lexicon. But I don't think they know that. So maybe they are being English racist, which is definitely a real thing that people can be. The
Yes.
most oppressed people, the English, yeah.
Yes, of course. So you were in theater. Are you a big fan of films?
I do like film quite a bit, yeah.
Okay. Do you have like a top five?
Let me see.
It's always the top five.
I could probably find a top three in there somewhere. I don't think I've got the full five. I'm just trying to think of what the third would be. Because I definitely know my top two. Number one favorite movie of all time is Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay. I could dig that.
A stunning movie. The visuals, the music, just everything. It's perfect, in my opinion. Number two, I would say, have you ever heard of Ghost Watch?
I don't know.
It
I don't
was
think so.
this Halloween special that was
Okay.
presented by the BBC back in I think maybe the 90s. And they used all like legitimate broadcasters. You know, we had like the couple that ran Blue Peter at the time. We had famous radio hosts, famous like news hosts, like news anchors, people that were fully established as fully non-fiction, tell you the news, watch shows with your kids, people. And they had them doing this Halloween event where they were going to go and explore a haunted house. They were going to go to this family's house where they said that there were ghosts or some kind of possession. They were going to have fun. They were going to film. They were going to learn a bit about it. And it was going to be like a night event. And then things start happening. And it escalates from there. But the whole thing, other than the bumper at the beginning of the show, was played completely straight all the way through as a legitimate live streamed Halloween special. And the phone lines broke because so many people were calling in. So they didn't get a call saying, "Hey, this is fake, but you can tell us your ghost stories." So he was essentially that War of the Worlds phenomenon where people began thinking that these real people that they fully trusted, because they'd never seen anything that broke this barrier before, were legitimately experiencing a haunting. I believe it was the first documented case of somebody getting PTSD from a fictional um, story, like a fictional television show or broadcast. It was set up for several awards, but the BBC rescinded the offers, and it wasn't able to be found for a good few years. They kept it kind of under lock and key, but I find that fascinating. It's such a fun movie.
That is very fascinating. The idea of that hysteria brought on by, I mean, you had these people that you're used to being like genuine and authentic, reading the news, and here they are doing something that's almost like sketch comedy, to be fair.
Mm,
But it was played so straight that people actually panicked, right?
yeah,
And that's going to be I'm going to have to put a great big probably watch that in between podcasts today, to be honest with you.
yeah. It's
That
a
sounds
good bit of
fascinating.
fun. I'm pretty sure you can get it for free on the Internet Archive, so don't bother
Yeah,
finding
it's
it anywhere else.
it's probably on YouTube, or if you're smart enough, you get a VPN and then you can just change your location and then find it
Figure
on
it out, yeah. But
BBC easily.
I don't even, I think, because I know they put out DVDs at one point, but I'm not sure where else you could find it. They did a similar thing years later with this show Inside Number Nine that they were doing for a while, which it was immediately just like, oh, they're paying homage to Ghost Watch, and I thought that was so much fun. But it doesn't have many like scary scares, but just the building tension the whole way through. That I adored it. It was so much fun.
Well, that's why I'm a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock, right? I don't know if
Oh,
you're too familiar with his work, but he was the master of suspense, and he made literally hundreds of movies. And so many people nowadays just want the blood and gore, and I guess that's fine for whatever reason. But if you go back and you genuinely pay attention to any one of his movies, Vertigo, etc., North by Northwest, he just builds so much tension in the scene, in the moment. I almost laugh sometimes because, JJ has gotten really good at let's say CapCut and other such things, but she'll show me these videos of these kids trying to use these editing techniques, and I just go like, yeah, he invented that like 100 years ago. Like, where have you where have you kids been, man? Like, editing was a thing a long time ago.
Yeah. He had this. You might know this because you know about Hitchcock, but he had this explanation of suspense as a bomb under the table. Where if you have a scene that's 5 minutes long and at the end of it, the table and everyone at it explodes, you get shock, but you don't get suspense. But if at the beginning of that
Exactly.
scene you show a shot of the bomb under the table, the whole time you're just sitting there waiting for it.
Right. And actually my very favorite Hitchcock movie is that premise. Um, for lack of a better term, it is I would say an under-known movie, Rope. And in the opening scene, two men actually murder their best friend and they stuff him into a large chest. And then they have an entire elaborate dinner party within about a half an hour. So the entire time that they're at this party, there's the chest right there, and anyone could open the chest and actually see that there's a person in there. And half the time, people are like, "Have you seen our friend? He hasn't shown up for the party. We don't know where he is." Right? So that whole movie is very suspenseful because will it happen? Will it won't happen? There's so many people that are like, "Oh, what's in the chest? Are you guys going on vacation?" And Hitchcock was just I highly recommend anyone who genuinely likes suspense or is just curious of what happens. Rope was incredible. And then as a movie, as a film nerd, right? As a person who went into school for this, what he did behind the scenes to make it happen was incredible because he actually set it up as a theater play. There's only about 9 cuts in the entire film, and everything was done like a stage play where they actually had to build the walls and everything on ropes and pulleys and stuff. So when they go into the next room and they come back, someone actually ran around and was putting the table down with all the items on there. It's incredibly fascinating, and I super recommend it to anyone who's interested in genuine craft, right? There's some people who like the popcorn flicks, and there's nothing wrong with a good popcorn flick, but if you want an actual movie built with suspense and understanding, Hope is the number one in my opinion. It's one of my top 5 movies of all time. But my thought process was, did you ever watch Guy Ritchie?
No, not as recent anyway.
Okay. Just because I love the fact that anytime Guy Ritchie has he does a lot of British gangster movies. And it's always funny how they're in the middle of some of the most like brutal scenes where they're saying horrible stuff, and then someone turns and says, "Go and put the kettle on," right? So it's like, all right, the British guy's like, "Before we get started, can I just get a cup of tea, please?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
Um,
it's definitely. I told you, it's ingrained. It's just part of the culture.
right, right. No, it does make sense, and to each their own, right? That's the American way. We're here now. All right, guys.
Speaking of actually British gangster movies, I'm forgetting the name of it. You might know it. There's one that was based off of a real story. It was Tom Hardy playing two twin brothers, the Cray twins. Um,
Oh yeah,
I can't remember the name of that movie for the
I
life.
I am absolutely um appalling when it comes to the names of stuff. So I'm going to be honest and say I just Googled it. It's called Legend.
There you go. But just as a fun fact, my family back when used to work with the Cray twins.
Wow.
That's my little piece of British history. We had some people in the family who maybe ran bars and things like that, and just sort of gave them a blind eye or helped them out, and were sort of bases of operations for the Cray twins. So
Yeah, and that's a great film Tom Hardy's such a terrific actor. He did the other movie as the very famous Charles. Oh, I just lost the name again, but he basically plays like the prisoner. He's a very famous prisoner, Bronson.
Hmm.
So he plays Charlie Bronson in the movie Bronson. Um, and that was 2008. Just around he started getting pretty famous, and that's another historical movie that's I find very fascinating. I don't know if you've seen that one, but I definitely celebrate. I was a fan of his long before he was super famous because he actually played a young Jean-Luc Picard in a Star Trek movie. So very young, he played the clone. So he was pretty much an unknown at that part, at least in America. And obviously, I'm a big nerd, so Star Trek's one of my things. And so once you become a part of that family, you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
Um, so can you walk us through your journey at BioPro? Like, what was the most intense or eye-opening part of the training for you?
It's kind of hard to place. A lot of people talk about the physical aspect of training, and that is definitely difficult. When I started training, I had not really prepared very well. I mean, I was 19, I was fresh out of high school, I was probably 90 pounds soaking wet. But there is this level of if you push through, you're just going to keep going. You just got to keep momentum. The thing that I really struggled with was the mental game a lot of the time. Just the well, why do you keep going? Do you really think it's going to work? Like that kind of thing. And that was what gave me a lot of trouble early on. I had a spell of panic attacks at one point early in my training. Um, but luckily, at the time, I think Coach Brian Malones was there, and he gave me a lot of support around that. Um, uh, but I do understand, like fully, like you can get beaten bloody, you can wrestle difficult matches, but if your heart's not in it, if your head's not in it, that's where you get into difficult places, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and that makes total sense, right? I mean, with something, we're not talking about like tying your shoes, right? We're talking about one of the most intense physical, mental, emotional, psychological, you know, sets of athletics out there. Because, I mean, with all due respect, unlike most other sports, it's literally just work harder to be better. And there is obviously let's say baseball, for instance, there's all kinds of mechanics you can get better at it, whether offensively or defensively, right? But you don't have to worry about cutting a promo. You don't have to worry about the psychology of entertaining the crowd. All you have to do is play baseball. There is a whole separate dynamic that goes into professional wrestling, which is why I have been such a long time fan of it, because there is just a deep dive of psychology that is underlying everything you do or you don't do, right? You could get in the ring and I talked to Drager about this one because he's such a big Jake the Snake fan. Jake the Snake could do less is more. And he could sit there and he didn't have to, he wasn't like the Ultimate Warrior. He was yelling at all the time at the top of his lungs going, ah, right? Uh,
Yeah, Jake the Snake was just so intentional.
right.
As long as like if you're yelling, you can have that intention, but you can have just as much intention being completely quiet.
Yes.
As long
Yeah.
as you know what you're doing, and I think because there are people who could do a promo completely quietly and it wouldn't matter and no one would listen. But when you've got the intent, when you've got the craft down, when you've really got people's attention, that's something to be really proud of.
Yes, of course. And obviously Ultimate Warrior went on to win the WWF Championship at WrestleMania, so I can't put him down too well because it worked for him.
Oh yeah,
But what I am saying is that you got to find what works for you and your character, and if you're able to do the less is more, you know, kudos to you. Because you didn't have to be that eccentric over the top or whatever. And once again, there are still some of the remnants of that old thought process, and I celebrate them, quite frankly. Like shout out to Jermaine Marbury and Benny the Basketball, right? When I see those guys, I think Vince McMahon, early '90s, when he's got the Isaac Yankem DDS and Duke the Dumpster Drowsy and the Goon and all those other kind of like would be caricatures almost, right? And it still works. It still works. I love seeing Benny coming out and doing little defense, defense. We've been posting all kinds of on the channel some Benny the basketball little stuffed animal adventures and stuff. So there's nothing wrong with those, but that once again, even just that conversation, you don't have to have when it comes to football. You don't have to have that when it comes to whatever. And then with something like acting, obviously it can be very physically demanding depending on what you're doing. Very famously, especially action adventure movies like The Mummy was very difficult on the body of Brendan Fraser, but not everybody has to go through that. And that's the thing that I love the most about professional wrestling is you get these two different worlds colliding into something else completely, and there's just really nothing else like it. You can have different forms and flavors, the British strong style, the Japanese strong style, the luchadors in Mexico, even here in America you got places that like JCW that are doing the super hardcore everything Japanese death matches. And then you got places like Wrestling with Character where they do more of that fun um dive into personalities. Same thing with like tomorrow. JJ and I are going to go to Rad Pro Wrestling where it's 1997 and someone like Shannon Levangie who is like the girl next door, like America's sweetheart, is now this killer doll that wants to rip your head off and light the building on fire. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff is just overtly fascinating for me, and this is one of the reasons why I love wrestling so much and love talking about wrestling so much because you just don't see as much of it in the universe. Well, unless you're a wrestling nerd, then you see it everywhere.
I will say though, wrestling does kind of bleed into everything, doesn't it?
It really
I
does.
I think you are beginning to see elements of that kind of wrestling level personality work in some sports where like they're trying to make their athletes into figureheads for teams or for sports or things like that. Because I think they are realizing in a lot of ways that sort of entertainment does capture people, it captures the imagination. Um, and
Yeah,
there's a lot to be said for strong personality, um, coming along with that kind of skill and effort.
yeah, and and really the wrestlers themselves have been the ones that have put that out there for the world. What sports team in America hasn't had Ric Flair as their special guest,
Yeah.
right? And he's the GOAT, in my opinion. So, you know, it's something like even like UFC. UFC wasn't as, early UFC was literally just people beating the tar out of each other. But lately
Which
now it's been,
admittedly, a lot of fun.
yes.
I do like a bit of old UFC. A couple of the bio guys have always been like, "We should watch this match," and then it's just murder. That's
Right.
just immediate head trauma, end of career stuff. But God, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. But especially with TKO merging, but I would say since 2000-ish on, they did have more of a flair for the dramatic, where they, you know, would have. Now you see more videos of just as many videos of the personalities outside the ring, Conor McGregor, than you do of their fighting in the ring, and it does kind of it adds a layer,
Yeah.
which is ironic since Shane McMahon wanted to buy the UFC in the '90s. That would have been it is super poetic and full circle that UFC 25 years later bought the WWE when in the late '90s Shane McMahon wanted to buy them. Oh man, who writes this stuff, right? So for you, what made you want to switch, go and become an announcer?
It really was just circumstance. I was very focused on wrestling, and in a lot of ways I still am, but I'm not gonna ever turn down the opportunity to work at a promotion, get my foot in the door, and just perform. I love performing, so if that's as the ring announcer, if that's as the wrestler, it doesn't matter to me. Like I just enjoy all of it.
Now, and I did when I was talking to Drager on Jesus Christ, what was it? A Saturday night, I think it was, the WFA. I did hear a group of people or a guy or something ask you about, will you ever get into the ring again? So now I'm curious, is that coming?
Oh, it's coming.
Okay.
My next match is actually about a week and some from now. It's March 15th at New Order Wrestling. I'm going to be facing off with Killer J. I'm very excited for that. And of course, Tinsel the Elf has gone out and done some wrestling in the meantime as well. I think I made my return as myself back around Halloween of last year because I took a year off because of, well, the injury.
Yeah.
It's a lovely scar, isn't it?
Yeah. And you don't seem to shy away from it either. When JJ and I met you the first time when we took a picture with you, you made sure to show your scar in the photograph, which I found fascinating.
Oh, it's such a cool scar. Why would you ever hide it? It would be hard to hide. I'm not going to wear long sleeves for the rest of my life, and I'm very proud of how I got this scar. I got to wrestle at Wrestling Open at the Worcester Palladium. I opened the show. You know, I love that. It's something I take a good bit of pride in. The thing that I think I'm most happy about from that whole experience, and obviously there's not too much to be happy about with breaking your arm in three places, but is that I finished the match. As insane as that sounds, I finished the match, and we were the first on the card, as I said. So I did have this thought, which probably isn't the right thing to think when you're going into shock, but I thought I don't want to make the rest of this show super weird because I don't want everyone to spend the rest of the show going, "Oh my god, what happened to that girl in the first match?" So I obviously I was in the ring. I was going, "Oh no, oh no, oh no!" But I sort of held it, and I got out of the ring, and I got out of there. I blew my kisses, and then I passed out backstage. Um, but from what I can tell, that it was kind of hard to tell for the people in the room what had happened. So I guess that's a success.
Yeah, and I genuinely have to applaud you for having such an upbeat, positive mental attitude towards something as horrific as breaking your arm in three places. Because, I mean, as I said, I've never seen you really shy away from it. Some people would, for obvious reasons, it might be a little more difficult for them to speak of. And let's pretend for a second it was, I wouldn't have brought it up in the first place. The idea that you're showing it off in pictures made me realize, all right, well, it's clearly not something she's trying to hide. At least from a psychological standpoint, I would have been super confused when I brought that up, and you're like, never, I don't want to talk about it. Like, then why
Oh,
did you?
yeah, no. I've had a good while now to really sort of sit with it and think about what happened. Spent I spent the better half of the year into the summer doing physical therapy for it. But I was able to get back into training by I think about mid-July of that year, which was very exciting. So I ended up getting surgery around the beginning of January, so that was about as long as it took. But it was it was also an opportunity for me to actually get more into ring announcing. And that's another reason I'm so grateful to have ring announcing, because if I was just wrestling, if I'd been like, no, sure, I can do announcing, but I don't want to do it, and I'd pushed away and been like, no, it's all going to be wrestling. If I'd done that, and then I'd stayed away for like 6 months, I would have gone mad. I would have gone crazy without the opportunity to actually get on shows, perform, and just be out there doing things. And I'm very grateful for that. I mean, when I did break my arm, I believe it was the 26th of December. I broke it, so that was a Thursday night. The next Thursday, I went in for surgery, which I'll get to that in a minute. And then the Thursday after that, I had been driven back to Worcester and I was running merch at Wrestling Open. I didn't want to stay away from it for a minute longer. It's not even like a look at me being cool. Like I was sitting there going, I can't wait to get back there. I can't believe I missed a week of the show. I'm so mad. Because it's one of my favorite places to be.
Yeah, and you know, I've done it. I've done I call it the fake it till you make it 3 times now, and there is just nothing in this world that can truly describe the feeling you get when you get in that ring and you're able to capture the attention of those people, even if it's like 40 people. Like it's the idea of, and and maybe you can agree with me, maybe you can disagree with me or put a different spin on it, but the idea for me is like it's almost like being able to be myself for the first time because I am I'm a genuinely loud person. I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts, right? I'm very proud of this. So I'm a genuinely loud person. I have been working on this particular voice for, you know, decades now in various forms for various reasons. And being able to get in the ring and literally just announce people, I feel like I finally get to be the person that I want to be, right? The I said this in a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it 1,000 more times. We as adults, some people will use the term sellout, and I say, well, you call it sellout. I just call it adulting. Like everyone has that job that they have to work because they just have to pay bills. You know what I mean? So the idea of being able to get in the ring, um, it's like I finally get to do the thing as an adult that I wanted to do, that I've always wanted to do, and I get to be myself while doing it. So, do you understand that statement? I guess.
I do. It took me a long time to kind of figure out where my voice at as an announcer. Not my literal voice, although that did also take some time. I did start out just fully yelling, just yelling at the top of my lungs because I knew I didn't. And I did shock people when I started because they were like, "I thought you were going to be quieter." I was like, "Why would I be quiet? I have to be. I'm on a microphone. I'm trying to be loud." And that took a while, but like my literal like personality coming out, that took me a very very long time. And I remember I used to do well because I followed Rich Palladino and I had to be very formal, I have to be very like proper. I had like a sweater and a button up and I've always done the heels. Um, but I remember I think it was probably around mid-year last year. Um, I had the chance to talk to Gabe Sapolsky a bit. He tends to come around for WFA and different events like that because it runs with the Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center, which is the WWE ID school for New England. And he told me, you announce just fine, but that you need to figure out what your thing is because you're clearly just sort of announcing like you're just covering for someone or you're copying Rich, and so you got to figure out what your thing is, what your look is, what your personality is. And I think that kind of gave me an opening where I was like, well, I guess I could maybe loosen up a little bit. And so that allowed me to start, making kind of quick jokes or saying something in between or something I keep doing because people keep leaving stuff near me. It's people keep leaving sunglasses, keep leaving hats, keep leaving headgear. I'm gonna put it on just because I enjoy it. I think it was Rain Conway left his headgear out at the end of the
Yeah,
last WFA, and so I stick it on. I'm like, okay, everybody, we've got bar, food, drinks, whip it back off.
yeah. You had a
Yeah, just
great
being
cheat,
able to loosen up took a very long time.
right? And you had a great joke too. You're like, "This is all sweaty and gross," and you just
Oh, it
kind of threw
was.
it.
No, I'll tell you the worst is whenever a wrestler takes my microphone, it drives me crazy. The big thing is obviously the spitting. A lot of them spit, and you have your mic cover.
Oh
And
yeah,
I made it a joke at a certain point where whenever I'd get a mic back, I'd turn it off and I'd just wipe it down my leg to try and clean it off. Because I was like, I'm going to clean it because I can see spit, but I might as well make it like a visual gag as well. But that's most wrestlers. DJ Powers If he has my microphone, and I'm putting him fully on blast here because he deserves it. If he has my microphone, he will hand it back, and the handle of the microphone will be sticky.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ugh. It's
Right.
awful. It gets like tacky as well. It's just it's all spray tan and oil, and it's like, oh God,
Yeah.
it's
No, that
just
makes sense.
appalling.
He likes to have the hair and then flip it back and get it all over people and stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, he started doing that recently at our shows, and I was like, that's the grossest thing in the world.
yeah, yeah, he really loves just healing it up. Um, my daughter calls him a helium balloon because he's just everywhere at all times and he's just in your face and you can't knock him down. He's right
He
there. You
comes
know what I
right
mean?
back.
Just get out of here. Get out. Why do you keep coming back up here? We don't want you. Uh, but yeah, no, it's great. It's great to hear that you found you were able to bring your personality into what you do. So my question is, what do you feel like you're going to be able to do that as a wrestler now as well? Like, if you're going to have a similar mentality when you're up against Killer J next week?
I hope so. I've had a lot less time to figure it out as a wrestler than I have as a ring announcer. So I think it's definitely going to be there's going to be bumps in the road, obviously.
Yeah, of
Just
course.
finding out how just beginning to live in my own skin as a wrestler and try and figure out what feels right there is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And I've got a very good opponent in Killer J. She will occasionally come train with us down at BioPro. So, maybe I've scouted out the competition a bit, but
Yeah, good
it's
idea.
something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, no, we had Shannon Levangie on the podcast, and I had asked her like what more had she been watching like for film, and like let's say Drager loves to watch old WWF
Yeah.
and 80s WCW and stuff like that,
I've
NWA.
got one of his old Bret Hart compilation DVDs on my shelf right now. I can see it because he at
Nice.
some point he used to use when he would be at when he was at BioPro when he started, which is where he first graduated. Um, there was one night that he just came in and he just put like 20 DVDs down. He went, I've already watched all of these and I've got a ton of DVDs. Just take them. And so we were like, okay. We just took a bunch of like these great old compilation DVDs and tapes and things like that. So I've got a very nice Bret Hart compilation that I've yet to get all the way through.
The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Absolutely.
You can't go wrong with Bret
You know, you
Hart.
if you do have Big Bacon Brad Hollister on, you can't be saying that.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
Shawn Michaels guy, and he will let you know.
Well, it's funny you say that because I named my son Sean.
After the one and only?
My
Wow.
son, my son's name is Sean Austin, actually. So
Wow.
not only did I name him after Shawn Michaels, but I named him after Stone Cold Steve Austin.
There you
So
go.
maybe that's the sales pitch I'll send to Mr. Bacon next time I see him. Like, hey, we both love Shawn Michaels.
There
Yeah,
you go.
and the I guess the ironic thing is that my son Sean couldn't care less. He does not like wrestling. He does not like sports. He loves video games, and he's almost like, could you stop telling people that? I hate it. Like it took me to have my third child, who is my daughter,
Yeah.
to get someone to not only like sports but play sports. She's played basketball, she's played baseball, she played soccer, and then she also played softball for a little while. But she actually played regular baseball and then softball. Um, and it took me to have a daughter to have somebody actually like, love, and appreciate professional wrestling because my boys could not care less.
It's always nice having someone to share that kind of passion with. I'm glad to hear that she does so many sports. I think it's so important for like kids to have that something when they're younger, to have that, confidence boost that I think sports do for a lot of people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. The idea of, especially just learning to work with a team and learning that, because I feel like very often in this world we forget that we are not on an island by ourselves, right? Professional wrestling is actually a perfect example of that because if it was literally just Stone Cold Steve Austin in the ring, that would get pretty boring after about 3 days, right?
Yeah.
There's only number one, who's holding the camera, all right. Number two, who's running the light show, who's selling the tickets, who's letting them in the building, who's making sure they're not bringing bad stuff in the building. There's just there's so many jobs that work that this is a very symbiotic world, and professional wrestling is proof of how symbiotic everything is because you could be as great as you ever want, but there's only so many times you could wrestle a dummy or wrestle a vacuum before it's like, all right, guys, we need more of that, right? There needs to be more. So I feel like it's a great thing for children to learn to be on a team and to understand that you are a part of a bigger world and we all play our parts and there's nothing wrong with being who you are, right? Maybe you have a certain skill set that contributes in a different way than someone else who has a other skill set, but that's just life, right? That's just the entire world and that's just the way it works. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And as you said, wrestling is a team sport, and there have been a lot of people who came through BioPro, especially who were like, and I don't mean this to be insulting or anything, but they're like, no, all I want to be is a wrestler. If you guys want me to be a ref, no. If you guys want me to be a manager, no. And it's like there are so many things in wrestling, and all of them are so important. And it's like if I wasn't doing ring announcing, I probably wouldn't be doing much in wrestling. But you find where you fit. We have an incredible referee that trains with us, Tiger. He does a lot of our Beyond. He does a lot of our bio stuff. Oh my goodness, he is the hardest working man in professional wrestling. I genuinely believe that. He drives so many of us to different events. He runs ring crew basically every week. So he runs it for the Monday night shows, setup and teardown. Tuesday setup, Wednesday teardown for training, setup and teardown on Thursdays. Then he does weekend shows, and he's reffing all the time. He, I think, started about a year ago now, and not refing, like joining the school. And within that time, he's refed over 100 matches. There is a space where anyone can thrive. It's not always being a wrestler. If you're someone who like we have people who come in and they help run our food, or they help us run we do a bong raffle at Wrestling Open, or merchandise. These people bring important money in. They build a strong rapport with our fans. Like these are all like it's how we pay our EMT. These are all such important things. The guy who rings the bell, everyone's been in a show where someone has no idea how to ring a bell. If you can ring the bell, you've got a spot on a wrestling show. If you've got the gift of gab, if you're not good at being in front of everyone in the ring, maybe you're good at commentary. Like that's everywhere in wrestling. There is something for someone. And I think trying to limit yourself and be like, oh no, I'm only gonna do this, it's just setting yourself up for failure in a way, you know?
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree with you more. And it's maybe I'll be divulgent where I was going to keep my mouth shut on this one.
Oh boy.
Uh, in 8 days' time, I am going to become a student of the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. Um,
Wow.
so I am just waiting for a bonus check to come in so I can pay them to join. And mm, honestly, over the last 3 or 4 months, I've been thinking about it. I have actually been trying to think of every single way I could bring value to them, um, whether it be in or outside of the ring. And I don't mean to put them too much on blast because they're a great group of individuals, and I have grown to love and adore them. But for instance, let's say a website, right? Those are very hard to run. I
Yeah.
have noticed I got to give it up to DC because um, he pretty much runs the website that I feel like everybody should run. Not
Yeah.
only is it updated on a regular basis, but you guys have like 75 million things in the merchandise area.
Yeah.
Um, there are
You run
so
a tight ship.
Yes, yes. So, but there are so many wrestling companies, and maybe it's the idea that they can't afford to have a person do it, right? Maybe it's the idea of they just don't know how to do it, or they don't value it as much as, and they don't see why. But my thought process, and I made a laundry list of things, and I literally have it waiting here. It's probably on my desk right here. But one of the biggest things for me is updating the website on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They sell 3 T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. Danhausen sells like 400, and he's one person. So it's like you should be selling multiple. You could be selling stickers and all kinds of stuff on the website because it's
I'm gonna cut you off on a real nitty-gritty note. If you are able to get in contact and work with a t-shirt provider that doesn't expect you to buy things ahead of time or have a certain amount of stock and will simply print when it's ordered, there is no reason not to have a bunch of t-shirt options. There just simply
exactly
isn't. Because if you have the opportunity to make something for everyone and there's no like down cost other than maybe the design, go for it. It
exactly.
blows me away.
And you're thank you so much for interrupting me because you're literally just preaching to the choir at this
There
point
you go.
because that's half of my pitch because Pro Wrestling Tees, Shopify, Printify, I sell merchandise for my nonprofit, the Children of the All Father. They just produce it and they take the cut off the top. Like it's so much easier than the old fashioned way of paying upfront for 1,000 shirts and then praying to God somebody wants this thing in green, right? It's just so much easier to have it on the internet and say pick whichever color you want. I don't care, right? And
Exactly.
not to mention it's literally just value added because you could just make a design, slap it up there. And I don't just mean that for Nepwa, and I don't want to keep bashing them because it's
No,
many.
it's something across wrestling I've noticed.
Right. Across wrestling, there's a genuine lack of merchandising when there is plenty of opportunity. There's a genuine lack of websites, and like my thought process has been literally just do it with Nepwa and then use that as the template to be like, hey guys, there's nothing wrong with coming into the new century, right? There's just nothing wrong with, and once again, they're obviously way more successful in this business than I ever have been, so let's not pretend like that's not true.
But there's always
But
places to optimize. Always.
exactly. So my main job in the universe is actually as a systems analyst for a large
Mm,
company. So it's
yeah.
literally my job to go into someone's portfolio, you could say, and find the idiosyncrasies, to find the issues and to do a root cause analysis and fix those immediately. So I am incentivized to do that on a regular basis. Not to mention, I was in the Army, I was in the Boy Scouts. That type of critical thinking has always been in my repertoire, right? So I have literally just amassed this large scale stuff that I actually have genuine, either I have provable commodities in, right? Something that I know I can do, or things that I'm willing to do, like a menu. And I'm just going to go to these companies and be like, hey, would you like anything on this menu? So
Exactly. Yeah.
I
That's
appreciate,
the amount of benefit that brings to wrestling promotions is amazing. I mean, like we've had people who come in and they go, "Hey, if you work with me, you can get a sponsorship deal," like that kind of thing. Like there's so many ways where you can bring benefit to companies and to
yeah.
wrestling promotions and to wrestling events. And I don't know, there's so many different options.
And and my favorite one, my genuine favorite one is the Macho Man Randy Savage. One of the greatest of all times to do it, okay? When he left the WWF to go to WCW in the mid 90s, he brought with him the Slim Jim promotion. And
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff has had said this probably 10 billion times. He actually didn't have to technically pay Randy Macho Man Savage anything because the added value of having the Slim Jim ads, Slim Jim was paying WCW so much money to run the Slim Jim ads, and he was basically just paying that exact same money to Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, he covers
So
himself.
he literally brought a way to cover himself, and they had one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the universe on their programming, and he went on to win WCW Gold a few times. So, not a bad plan, is what I'm saying. Granted, I'm no Macho Man Randy Savage, but
Yeah.
that's just the best one I like to point out, and I love the fact that you kind of pitched me a couple softballs on that one, so I can.
Yeah, yeah. No, because I see it so often. I sound I sound like such like a oh well back I sound like I'm self-aggrandizing here, but I see so many wrestlers who want to get on the shows, especially at like places like Wrestling Open where there's so many options like twice weekly, where they come in and they're like I wrestle and it's like well, do you also do ring crew? Can you ref? Can you do color commentary? Could you ring the bell? Could you run gear? Like these are all things where if you're like, oh, I don't do that, then the guy who does do that, maybe he's not as good as you, but we're going with him because he brings more value to this show. You know what I mean? Like it's you're doing a disservice to yourself by not identifying all the places where you can be helpful to a show.
No, I couldn't agree more, which is why I
Yeah.
literally have a list of them. And I'm
No,
like,
I like that.
what?
It's forward thinking.
Right. It's literally a list of these are the things I can do, and these are the things I am willing to do, which is a much larger, by
Yeah.
God, it's a much larger list. Um, but if someone's like, hey man, we need a guy to do this, I'm like, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I Black Jack actually was talking about Tiger, right?
Yeah, our referee.
Yeah, so
The
he was
like
actually
as I said before, I'm just gonna reiterate, hardest working man in professional wrestling, bar none. I think.
yeah, I've definitely I Black Jack brought him up as well, and I always see him at the Open and stuff. So seems like a super cool guy. Every once in a while, JJ and I'll be like, we should probably get that guy on the podcast, actually, because he's got to have a unique sense, right? I know he came in to be a wrestler, and now he's doing all this other stuff. He's got to have a unique sense, and it's kind of funny because there's so many um, people in this business that almost feel like when I talk to them, they're like, "Why would you do that?" And it's like so many people would assume that I call it a no smoke zone, right? If I'm telling you something as it's true, whether it's good or bad or ugly, I tell you this is how I think of you as a genuine person. I'm not blowing smoke at you. I'm not making stuff up to make you seem better because there's some kind of reciprocal thing. So like, let's say Evan who owns Focus Pro Wrestling, right? I've had many a conversation with Evan. I love Evan. I love Brian. They're amazing dudes. And one of the last times we saw Evan, which was about I would say like 2 months ago now, we actually JJ got a picture with Evan, and I told him I was like, "Hey man, when we get that back, we need you to autograph it." And he was almost like taken aback, like, "You'd want to autograph for me?" And I'm like, "Bro, you put on the show. What do you mean? Like, granted, you're not in the ring. I get it, but like, without you, there would be no Focus Pro. You know what I mean? Like, so you have not to mention he's a genuine person, so he deserves to be recognized and you know validated as a human being, but as a talent, right? Without him, there would be no Focus Pro. So same thing with like Drew Cordero, right? If there's no Drew Cordero, there's no Wrestling Open. So
There's no
why wouldn't I?
Beyond. There's no WWR Plus. Like he does a lot of stuff.
Right, right, right.
And there's no Bio Pro.
There's no
There's no
Bio
sweet.
Pro. And the stuff that these guys have to deal with, like having to, like let's say Christmas, right? Drew had to find a place for Christmas because obviously the White Eagle was going to be open that day, which is understandable. It's Christmas. Some people don't want to work, but I'm sure that wasn't easy finding some place. I'm sure Drew Cordero's job is really really hard. Not to mention he also has the food business, right?
Yeah,
So
he has Championship Melt, and then now his sister runs Tag Team Treats, which is a matching food truck for desserts. Which, oh my goodness, if you haven't gone to try their like cold brew coffees, it's like a dessert foam on top, like a cheesecake cold foam.
there you
God,
go. See,
God, it's good. I don't even
so
like coffee. I get it so I can have the foam.
So once again, value added, and so many people would say you're just kissing Drew Cordero's butt, and I'm like,
No,
are you? Are you serious? Do you not see what this man does? Why doesn't he deserve a
Yeah.
thank you? Why doesn't he deserve a thank you? He, at the very least, even if I wasn't trying to be somebody who wanted to be in the industry, without him, we wouldn't have so much good wrestling.
Yeah.
Chase Del Monte, like I was saying, he does amazing stuff. They had a opposing show last night that I'm very kind of intrigued to know how that went. They had very little build up to it. Um, there's no like pictures on the internet of what was going on, but me and my daughter this morning were like, "What? How does a bachelorette party turn into a wrestling match? What does that mean?" But these guys, they genuinely, whether they get in the ring or they don't get in the ring, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They do a job that without them, there would be nobody else, right? They
Exactly.
put the show on. So why don't they deserve a thank you? Why is that such a taboo thing? Like I give flowers, right? We were there for Ricky Smokes, his last pandemonium for Chaotic Wrestling right after he signed with NXT and before he went full time to NXT. JJ and I made sure to show up and we were literally the last people in the building, and we gave Ricky Smokes his flowers, right?
Yeah.
Jariel Rivera, he just got the WWE ID. We showed up with his flowers. In my opinion, there's no reason why Drew Cordero, Evan, any number of these people who have been wonderful and amazing to me in many different ways, Supernova, um, EWA, I could go on all day. Why
Yeah.
don't they? Yeah, they deserve it too. You know what I mean? Like they do that work, and they're unsung heroes in so many ways, and people just don't seem to grasp the concept that without them there'd be no show.
Yeah.
So with that being said, and I appreciate you going on that and supporting me on my crazy rant journey there for a second, because
Happy
I
to.
I I'm just a passionate human being, right? I'm just a passionate human being,
Yeah.
and once again, there's no chip on the shoulder, guys. There's nothing. I am as you might be like, oh, well, this guy, yeah, that's the point of the podcast. I'm supposed to be all hyper, duh. It's called the Hype Podcast for a reason. Um, so you've worked events with talent from TNA, WWE, AEW, AAA,
All in one night last
all
week.
in all
It's
in one night.
absolutely surreal. Four champions, four promotions, all the biggest in North America.
Ballroom Blitz, baby. What's it like sharing the card with those big names? You know, what's it like for you?
Um, it's interesting, when you start doing wrestling, you have to immediately flip a switch. Which is if you can't freak out about it. You have to be strictly professional. These people are your co-workers. You cannot be weird about it. You can respect them, you can really admire them. Don't be weird about it. But there are times when we get someone from TV where I'm like, I'm not going to bother them. So I have this moment of like, oh, I don't even want to go over it. Like they're busy, they're doing important wrestling things. Um, but once you're in the ring, they're in their element, I'm in my element. We're both doing what we need to do. Then there is nothing more fun than getting to give somebody a really exciting, fun introduction. I got the chance to talk to Gabby Forza after Ballroom Blitz, and she said, "I love it when you announce me. Not to toot my own horn. She said, I love it when you announce me. I feel like girls always do such a fun job of it, and you always blow it away." And I'm like, "Thank you so much." But it's because I have so much fun with it. There are people who have just really fun introductions. Gabby Forza, instead of her weight, she lists her weights, how much she squats, how much she deadlifts, how much her bench presses. And so you just build and you build and you build, and there's the nicknames and it's the name, and there is something to like the flow of it where you can really just sort of get into it. And it's fun. Getting to have that fun with people is the best. And there are so many times you do get to interact with the wrestlers in the ring. And you can have fun moments like I get a hip bump from Willow Nightingale, or there can be less fun moments where Drager grabs me really hard by my unhealed broken arm and throws me to the ground. There's highs and lows, but all of it just makes it worth it because it's these chances to, I don't know, just be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I know, and I was kind of low key laughing when you were talking about the idea of when they take the mic from you because on Thanksgiving, Sean Vegan Keegan, love you, Sean. He took the microphone so he can do a rant about Thanksgiving. As a fellow vegan, I was like low key like, yes, I believe in you, Sean. But there's just something that's just so more intrinsically better, I guess. You know, same thing, and I can actually agree with you on the other one because Algo Nelly, he's been on the podcast as well, and he's got that whole gozillion pounds and all that stuff going on, and it's just
29 and a half goes zillion
20,
pounds.
yeah,
I
29,
love that.
yeah, gozillion pounds. Um, from Go Town Fun Town,
Go Town, USA.
Go Town USTA. What the hell was I thinking of? Who says Fun Town? Someone says Fun Town.
There's a
I'll
couple of
remember.
blank towns out there.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
know why I'm remembering this so well.
well, it's you know.
Nelly's a memorable guy.
He is a memorable guy. He's a very positive, upbeat guy. He works really hard.
You know,
Um,
I'm gonna stop you for a second. I'm gonna ask you a question. We're gonna reverse this for a second. When you have you gotten the chance to announce? How much have you gotten to announce? Have you gotten to announce much of like full shows or just matches?
just matches.
Okay. Because I've asked a couple different people about this. Every announcer I know has a slightly different way of cataloging all of their people that they've announced for. I know some people do Excel sheets, some people just keep it on their phone. I'm going to show you what I do really quickly. Let me go run and grab it.
Okay. I'm just going to keep the talking alive until you get back. This is actually very exciting. I would say this is the first time someone's asked me a question.
Because I keep a paper Rolodex of all the people. It's not even to be like, oh, well, I use real pen and paper. Like, forget that. It is, I can't stand Excel spreadsheets. I can't. I just can't.
What?
I don't know how other people do it. I know Rich sometimes uses stuff online, but every introduction is slightly different. And so if I had to fit every bit of phrasing into every little box, it just wouldn't work. So I literally have, I mean, other than the front bit, which has the matches from last night, throw this out. I have alphabetized starting Aaron Rourke all the way back to 23 Hazard because it starts with a number. And then I have the women, and then I have my tag teams. But they all just sit in this box.
So that's you know it's such a great question because I just have the index cards. So
Yeah.
I've been thinking about how do I save these. So now I'll have to steal you're going to get credit for this one. I'll have to
Yeah.
steal your idea because I could just put the index cards in the little box. I mean, granted, I could easily make an Excel spreadsheet since I do
Yeah.
them all the time anyways for my job, but I do just genuinely prefer physical items.
Yeah.
Um, I love an old-fashioned typewriter, you know.
There you
I
go.
love I still actually will write letters to people and send them in the mail, postcards, etc. So I'm just maybe a bit old-fashioned when it comes to that type of thing. So I had been thinking about it because I do have them probably in this desk right here of the ones that I have done. So that's pretty smart. I and you know the funny thing is, you know, the funny thing is I had been thinking to myself, would it be weird if I save them? Like my brain thought,
I have all of the old matches somewhere, well, most of them. I think I've thrown out a couple, repeats and things. But just out of habit, I have them around because I sometimes forget to copy down the actual details of them. So, let me give you an example. I have like an actual match card here from our main event of last night's Wrestling Open. Congratulations to our new champion, Fatty Ryan Clancy. I don't like how he beat up Bobby Jr. That's not the point, though. Is I have Clancy's information and I have Bobby's information. So when I'm like, I need Bobby's, I queue through to B and I have a Bobby Orlando card. I copy it down. I queue through to R. I get Clancy and I write that down. But it just means that then I have the ability to essentially find every person I need for a given card.
yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. So it honestly just makes me feel better because I have these cards and I was like, is keeping them weird. You know what I mean? Like my brain wanted to, but feel like when it comes down to it, I just didn't want people to think I was a crazy person. I guess I am already crazy, so I don't know why I'm worried about it. But
Yeah, we're pretty deep in it at this point. And no, as we're talking logistics of cards and Excel spreadsheets. But like, I have a
right,
couple of people's first matches. I have Handyman Jake Gray's first match, I think. And that's the other one I don't know about. I have his first ever on-show match on a card somewhere back there. It was him versus Hammer Tunis.
yeah,
And I remember that day very well because I think sometime around we had a little meeting before that show. Hammer had gone up to him and just been like, "How old are you?" And he went, "I'm 18." Hammer lost his mind. Hammer was like, "Jesus Christ, this guy is legitimately half my age. I'm wrestling a guy half my age. I'm 30, he's 18. That's crazy." And he's every person he could find, "Bacon, did you hear this?" Or, "Hey guy, did you hear this? Drew, can you believe this?" And he just lost, he was freaking out.
yeah. It's like this kid. What is this kid now? And
Yeah.
I get that plenty of times since I'm an old man myself. Uh, I
Some
mean,
of,
my son.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh no, just being 40, right? You hit that age, and um, I don't know. It gives you a certain perspective, level of perception. Um, my son just turned 24 recently. It's kind of like, oh man, looking back on life, you're just kind of like, and yes, for anybody who's doing the math, I was 16 when he was born. I get it. All right, so
Yeah,
there's always
there.
that person.
Do you have any cards that you're particularly attached to? Do you have like the first card you ever announced? That kind
Yeah,
of thing?
Sean. It was Sean Vegan Keegan versus the Lost Boy Nick Rodriguez at
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
yeah. Yeah.
So
I honestly cannot remember the first one I ever did, but I have a couple I remember fondly. There was a Valentine's Day match very early on when Drager started wrestling. I have him versus Love Dog. Um, I have there was a point in time where our coach Tom Santel intended to wrestle every bio student that graduated. Um, so I have him and Handyman. I have him and Drager. But I have a match card for a match that never ended up happening because of that. One of the bio students ended up getting quite injured. I think the night before our coach Tom was supposed to face him. So I didn't find that out until I was writing out my cards, and I went, "Hey, where is he? I need this. I need that." And maybe it was his weight. And they went, "Oh, he's not coming. He's like really badly hurt." So I have that. And I think that ended up breaking that tradition. Although I'm not sure if Tom would have wrestled me anyway. Um, but no, there's a couple there that are close to my heart. Of people I care about. A lot of the Bio Kids ones I'm very proud of having. I've got a couple of first matches. I've got a couple first Beyond debuts, a couple Wrestling Open debuts, and those are ones that are important to me, right? If I'm scanning through to try and find like, oh, I don't have Sean Vegan Keegan's like hometown because I left it out somehow. If I'm scanning through and I find it,
right,
I
right,
go,
that makes
oh, I
sense.
remember that. It's like
Right.
photographs.
Yeah, no, that's see, and that's genius because then you can have you can I've been low key wanting to ask Rich like how do you always remember when you see this guy once in a while like where is he from or whatever? Do you always ask them? But with your brilliant index, you don't have to. They're already there. So you can just keep it and you can just
The
be like, oh,
living
okay.
record because it changes
Manchester,
over time
New
as well.
Hampshire. Did you grow anything from 215 pounds, Sean? No, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, there will be the occasional like once every few months. I go, how much do you weigh again? Which is what
Yeah.
it's fun, it's not the sort of thing you ask in polite conversation, but I will at a certain point, if I'm tired enough and I know them well enough, I'll just sort of wander up to wherever they're doing ring crew. I'll go, "Hey, so and so, how much you weigh?" And they'll go, "Oh, so I'm like 215." I'm like, "All right, scratch it down."
Right. How much do you weigh today? That's always fun with Brian Bayside because he's always
Yeah.
doing weird, wacky, random stuff. I don't know how much you've ever seen that guy, but shout out to Brian. I love you, Brian. You're my bro. He's gonna be on the podcast whenever he gets the chance, but he's got a lot of stuff to do on his
I'll
plate
tell
as
you what
well.
though, some people get competitive about their weights, where they'll be
Yeah.
like listed at let's say 212, and then they'll be like, "How much is so and so going for?" And like their opponent will go, "Oh, that okay, then put me at 213," and then he'll then go 213, put me at 214. So I've literally been in between where I've seen it going up and up and up and up and up, and it was and my goal was like, whoever says the last word, they get it. So I think one of them ran out during the show and went, "Put me one above," and I went, "You got it," and so they won it. But
That's great.
it's just the ego thing. I'm like a pound bigger than you. People
I
use
am
kilos,
strong.
as
I am
well.
so strong. Yeah, the clothes. I put on my bigger boots today, so I'm an extra 4 pounds.
Yeah.
Uh, so indie grind is real. Traveling, booking. What helps you stay motivated during those tough stretches?
Um, Honestly, I think the actual getting up and going is the fun bit. Um, it more becomes the motivation to then clean out my apartment, which I've wrecked by throwing suitcases everywhere afterwards. The actual going and doing it is the fun bit. You could be starving, exhausted, tired. I once did a show that I'd been at that venue for 12 hours already. We were supposed to be there at like 9 a.m. and we were well into the evening. It was like 10 p.m. at this point. The show was over. We packed up. And then just as we were like, okay, time to bring the U-Haul back and like unload the ring, one of the guys goes, "I'm so sorry. One of the guys helping on room crew earlier left with the keys. It's gonna take a while. I just called him. He's gonna come back with them." And I laid down on the concrete floor. I put my jacket over me, and I just took a nap on the ground. I was like, I'm not staying awake for this. But I don't know. It did something fun about it. It did. I imagine if you were doing it completely on your own, Ash. But my goal is I try never to do a show alone. I always bring somebody, or I always go with somebody. Usually it's, Tiger, because he's amazing and he raps and he does ring crew and everything. Sometimes it's some of the other bio kids. Sometimes it's someone where I'm like, this guy, this promoter would love to use you, come with me. And so I get them in the car. But as long as you've got company, I mean, I've been on some miserable drives. We've done this wasn't too bad really, but we did a straight shot from an episode of Wrestling Open to Elyria, Ohio once in one day. I think it was like 12, 13 hours straight with gas station stops. But, good company, so we were doing just fine.
That's do I gotta ask this question now because TJ had such a great answer. Do you
Okay.
have any like wild or like crazy or weird stories, like a weird venue or a strange occurrence on the road?
There's some good ones. There's some weird ones, there's some good ones. There was one time I was driving to a show and I was in the middle of the highway, like nothing on either side of the highway, like clear skies, no buildings even. And the wind was pretty strong. And a full size, like put it outside your house, plastic trash can, like on the rolling wheels, blew into the road and like a deer hit the front of my car. Just bang and bounced right off. I couldn't stop. There were other people behind me, but I was like, I had no idea what to do because I'd just been hit by a trash can. That was one of the weirder ones when I was driving. Let me think of some other stuff. There have been some odd ones. When we did the Ohio trip, we were so delirious by the time the sun came up because we was driving overnight because we'd started it open. By the time the sun was rising, we must have been in like I'm terrible at geography, maybe Pennsylvania. And I think it was Ricky Shane Page was driving. He just went, okay, we need to wake up. And he just put on Creed as loud as possible. And between every line, he was doing an ad lib. Every line, so, yeah, tell him, Scotty. Come on now. Give it to him, Scotty. Come on now. Yeah. And just every line. And we were just screaming Creed at the top of our lungs at maybe 4, 5 in the morning. Just nothing left in the tank. Absolutely nothing. And just, I don't know. There are a lot of them, but I'm like, I'm not sure how many of these I can tell.
Yeah, no, that's always one thing. Like, listen, if you can't, I get it.
Yeah.
Actually, you made me just think of putting something on the I could be helping out list. Got a very good driving record.
There you go.
Um, my car wouldn't be very suitable because I have a subcompact. So if somebody else wants to like let me drive their car, that might be better for us. But otherwise, we might be a little squished.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small car, but I don't mind driving 12 hours. Doesn't hurt. It's actually fun for me. It's more
There are a few
therapeutic.
there are a few very well respected, like great wrestlers that I know that can't drive. I'm not going to put anybody on blast, that would be crazy.
Right.
But I
Right. That
know
would be,
multiple who are like, I need a ride if I'm coming to the show. And it's like, why are you too tired from something or other? How far do you have to go? And they're like, no, it's like an hour, but I can't drive or I don't have a car. And it blows me away. I'm like, how do you intend to do this
yeah.
if you can't? I mean, they're doing well enough, but I'm like, how?
Yeah. No,
It seems infeasible with the kind of work we do.
yeah, no, I won't put anybody on blast, but there was one person in particular after a show, they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get the bus," and I was just like, "What?
Getting the bus is rough.
Huh?
Usually they get like a student to drive them or something. No, getting the bus is rough.
Getting the bus is." I know. I was just like, "You're gonna take a bus? Like that sounds
Nothing wrong with the bus. Let me
nothing."
reiterate,
Yeah,
nothing wrong with the bus.
if you gotta do it, you gotta do it, right? You gotta do what
But
you
I
gotta
just
do.
imagine having all your gear, being sweaty, being tired on the bus is not ideal. That's what I mean by
Exactly, exactly. That's where my brain went. I was just like, "Oh man, I wish you lived anywhere near I lived. I would drop you off,
yeah.
or at least." If there was a bus depot around where I lived, I would say I could drive you since we're going in the same direction, but you're going a lot further than I'm going. I
Okay.
don't want to drive 2 hours and come back, but
Yeah. Dare I ask what TJ's story was?
TJ's story was pretty good.
I'm
TJ
trying to figure out the range of stories I'm allowed to tell.
so TJ's story was that he went to a place in West Virginia and he was driving, I think this was his beach bum days if I remember
Oh yeah, way
appropriately.
back when.
And he was driving up a hill and up a mountain and up a mountain and up a mountain, and eventually got to the top of the mountain, and all that was really there was a fire station, and he was just like, okay, this is where we're gonna wrestle, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna put the wrestling ring in the fire station, and the whole town's gonna come, and he was kind of like, holy crap, is this going to be like 10,000 people? And it was like 500 people. So it was just like a weird occurrence for him to not only be at like the top of a mountain, but the idea that it was like literally the entire town did come to this, but only like 500 people live on the mountain and drove up the mountain for this wrestling show. And it was just a weird, like a mentally strange experience for him. So,
That you have reminded me of several things actually now, so I'm glad I asked. First, there was a show, a carnival show that Pioneer Valley Pro Wrestling did once that had us oh, I can't remember the name of the beach. It doesn't really matter. But it was like a carnival that's been propped up on like the cement strip out by this beach, and there were alpacas there. Somebody just put out a bunch of straw that blew away immediately. So these alpacas were just under a little tent on the concrete. I felt awful for them. But naturally, seeing them as we're setting up this ring, handyman Jake Gray goes, "Can I come out for my match on an alpaca?" It's absolutely surreal to
oh my
be in the
God.
center of a ring and go, the following contest is a tag team match scheduled for one fall. And out comes, I can't remember even who it was. It was one person, I think it was like, it might have been Jay Tunis. I don't know. It was somebody. Someone came out, they took my mic, they berated, whatever. And then their opponent's music hit. And out comes Eric Cha Cha and Handyman Jake Gray with alpacas. There was an alpaca each. And Cha Cha, perfect poise, posture, brought the alpaca straight down the way. Handyman, that animal hated him. That animal wanted him dead. That alpaca was yanking him around. He was like fighting. He's fighting an alpaca to the ring that clearly doesn't want to be there.
Oh my
Like
God.
20 feet from where it had been in like its tent, but just bizarre. Just like handyman, wrench and resolve doing a petting zoo on their way to the ring as all these kids
Oh my
freak out.
God. That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I love Jake too. Like the handyman was such a G when he came on the podcast. He was actually doing it on his like lunch break, and he
Yeah.
was in like whatever factory or whatever he works at, and I'm like, this is like the most realistic thing that you could do because you're the handyman and you're like there's a giant machine behind you and you're like stopping the push buttons and shit. And I'm like, this is
He
talk about
lives,
authentic. You know what I mean?
you know,
It's
he got that name. He was still in high school when he started training. I mean, I remember being at shows and he was at the merch table doing his physics homework. Like he started training pretty young. So he wasn't doing that when he first got the gimmick. He had plans to be like this kind of edgy, like hardcore guy, and eventually he did obviously get into deathmatch stuff, and I think he does great at it. But he had this whole idea for this completely different thing, but he was really handy at setting up the ring. And so people just started calling him the handyman. And it stuck. And he was told, you should really pursue this. And he's a bit of he was like a high school kid. He was a bit skinny. And we're like, well, put on a jumpsuit, cover up, and you can be the handyman. And he's like, this is stupid. This is dumb. And I mean, my God, it's worked so well for him. It's it's bled into everything. And something I really admire about Handyman is just how much creativity goes into what he does. Um, every time he does like a death match or some kind of specialty stuff, he loves doing matches with weapons. He goes and he buys all of his own stuff and he comes up with these ideas. He did a match at CDW over the weekend. You may have seen the clips on Instagram, or if you haven't, I highly recommend it. He brought in, I think, a saw and a piece of metal to throw sparks at the other guy stuck in the corner of
my
the
God.
ring.
Yeah, I
He
gotta check that
comes up
out.
with these genius ideas, and he always executes them so well. Um, best of luck healing. He ended up messing up his jaw a little bit, so
I know.
he's on
Yeah.
he's on the road to recovery. Nothing broken.
All right.
Um,
That's good. That's
yeah, no,
good.
he's doing okay.
He does do some wild stuff. That January Beyond show, he did a coffin drop off the top of the balcony
I
onto the
remember
onto the group of people, and I remember I didn't even see him up there.
until he
Um,
went.
well, I would have to give the shout out to JJ because JJ at one point was like, what is he doing up there?" And I was like, "Oh my God, okay." Well, he loves my brain. I like I said, I had him on the podcast, so he told me how Darby Allin's one of his guys for sure. I as soon as I saw him up there, I knew exactly what he was doing. I was like, "Oh shit." Go get over there and try to get this picture, right? Because she does the photography now.
Yeah,
I
there
didn't
were
want
some
to.
great photos of that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Probably still haven't developed all the photos. My daughter, I probably have like 30,000 photos at this point from all the different wrestling shows because we go to like two or three every weekend.
Yeah.
Um, so I probably have like 20 or 30,000 photos I need to go through, which I need to find time at some point. I have five jobs. It's not easy, all right? I got to do
Yeah.
this.
I'll tell you
Um,
a fun fact about Handyman though. His logo on his jumpsuit, I designed that.
oh no, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I made that for him really early on. He was like, "Hey, I just need something, and you have like Canva. Can you just figure it out?" I was like, "I'll figure out something." I threw it together. I gave it to him. He was like, "Oh, this is great." I made him like two colorways. So I made him the original purple and yellow, and then a purple and blue. And he's sort of just tweaked it ever since. But I think I got paid $50 for that because when I gave it to him that night, like the designs and some original things for it, um, we found $50 on the floor. And it was at the end of the night. Nobody was in anymore. So we were like, whoever it was, they're like gone, gone. He just goes,
Right, 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 right.
well,
No,
you want to get
that
paid?
that's great.
But it's been
Yeah,
amazing to see
no,
how much that's grown.
right. No, it's funny because after the podcast, he was on the podcast, and the next time I saw him, he actually gave me a bunch of like stickers and stuff. So I was almost gonna like, I was looking around like, crap,
Oh,
do
I'm
I
sure I
have
have
one?
some somewhere.
But they're probably in the bag that's in the other room. So I don't want to be all weird about it. But yeah, no, that's actually pretty sweet. That kind of low key reminds me of a story, which is completely off topic, but marginally
No way.
similar in a way. So I am a huge Elvis fan. I
Okay.
love I love to do like when I sing Elvis. I sing Elvis karaoke. It's like my thing. In fact, my uncle is actually like an Elvis impersonator these days, so he's
Fun.
pretty good. So it kind of runs in the family. But um I went to this had to be like 2017 or something. I was out with my brother and some friends, and we went to a bar or whatever, and after that we went to the Red Diner or whatever. It's like open 24 hours. And it's funny because there was a girl there that was celebrating her birthday. And for whatever reason, maybe I was just feeling the liquid courage, but I started singing her happy birthday in my Elvis voice. And some guy came out of nowhere and gave me $5, right?
You getting
So
tipped?
so I got so ever since then I make jokes about how all I want is $5, right? So number one, I'm like, they're like, well, how they all I want is $5, and I'll tell sometimes I'll just randomly make a joke about being a paid musician.
There
Which
you
is
go.
not true. I'm being sarcastic, guys. But it was kind of low key, just kind of like, happy birthday to you. And it was just like she lit up like a Christmas tree, probably because she was drunk and it was 1 a.m. So
There you go.
for me, there's no better crowd than drunk people because they just love everything. You could be terrible and they're like, yeah, this is
Drunk people are the
amazing.
best. Drunk
Yeah.
people are such a party.
So, but yeah, I don't know why finding the $50 reminds me of someone slapping a $5 bill in my hand saying, good job singing that buddy. Um, Whew. Yeah, those are definitely great stories. I would definitely put them up there because I did love TJ. So now I'm just like, he literally said how he's been dying for someone to ask him that question. So I'm like, maybe I should ask that question more often.
I mean,
Um,
there's definitely some odd venues. I mean, the WFA one, the
oh my
entrance.
God. Yeah,
Have
you're
you
not
seen the
wrong.
way that I know that you guys go through the gym. Do you know how we get into that building?
Well, isn't there another door all the way on the side?
You know that corner of the building, abandoned thing covered in like newspaper that's like
Yeah,
looks like it's molding and it's held and there's like a weight in the door? That's how we get in. Legitimately, the first time I went there, I was like, "Am I at the right place? I don't know where I'm
right.
supposed to be." And they were like, "No, go around the building, find the abandoned entranceway, and don't move that weight because we don't have a key." And I was like, "What's going on?"
Am I
Obviously,
getting kidnapped?
they
Yeah,
figured it out since, but it is still a very spooky entranceway for a very cool
right,
venue.
right. Yeah, no, the very first time we went there, it said to, you know, and for anybody listening who hasn't been to a WFA show, it's in Concord, New Hampshire. It's at the Steeplegate Mall, was it? That's now dead and it's going to be bulldozed apparently.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what the latest news reports that came out a couple of weeks ago that they're gonna have
That's a
bulldoze the
shame.
whole thing.
There's several things living still in that mall, but
Yeah, they're gonna kick everybody out. That's what I heard. That's what the news reported actually. I've been low key wondering what all those people are gonna do because I wonder where else they're gonna go, to be quite frank. But for anybody who hasn't been to a show at WFA in Concord, it tells you to go to the zoo, and we were
the Zoo Health Club, not a literal
the Zoo
zoo.
Health Club. Yes, the Zoo Health Club, not the place with actual animals. And we were just like, look, I stole that philosophy. If you're not first, you're last, right? So we get there super early. We're normally the first people in line, and we were expecting the door not to be locked. We go into the Zoo Health Club. It's the door is unlocked, and then we're standing in the back, and we just JJ was like so freaked out. She's like, "We're supposed to be here. We're not." I'm like, listen, I have no
Lie
idea.
in the back of this gym and go into a dark, scary room. It's what you're meant to do.
Exactly. And I was like, it is sketchy, and you're normal for being panicked right now. But there is a television set over this door that's locked from our side, which kind of doesn't make sense unless they're trying to do something, right? And it has the picture of the event we're going to. So that gives me assurance that at least we're in the correct room. And if we're not, we're going to have a really fun story to explain to somebody someday.
In the back of this gym. Do go here, you know. No, but that venue they've figured out for themselves in the back. If that place is going, that's such a shame because that is a gorgeous little venue. They retrofitted the whole spot. It's like a black box theater for wrestling, and they've got the
Yeah.
whole stage set up. It's
They
stunning. It's
even
a great place.
they cut out the roof so you can, get your thing in, which is because there's so many times where I've gone to different wrestling companies, they have to have different sized rings depending on what's happening and the size of the stuff. Where otherwise, it's always funny when you see the very, very short ring because they have,
Yeah, pony rings. This is a
yeah,
personal opinion of mine. I cannot stand pony rings.
yeah. No, I don't,
Personal preference.
right, right. No, we went to, JJ and I went to a show. We were actually invited by the owner at the time to, I do something I call the Rev Dude Review, where I only do it for companies who give me free tickets. So I don't do it very often because it takes so long. But I basically just do an entire review. Takes like it's like a 20-minute video of the event, the entire event at once. And we went to one, and it was just super odd to be like a 5-year-old could get in this ring right now. It was so and I understand sometimes it's what you have to do. I get it. But it was just my brain couldn't like comprehend what was happening, right?
Yeah.
And it was
It's
still it's
just
still
it's
a
like
great show.
everyone's seat because you have to sit or else everyone's standing and you can't really see. So you're all sitting and the ceiling's a bit low and that's what they had to do. It's unfortunate when it happens, but
Right.
I don't know. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I mean, Christmas, right? We didn't even have a ring. We
We
just
did not have a ring. I'll
it,
tell you, you were asking earlier about how difficult it would have been to find that Christmas venue. It wasn't that difficult to find it. The issue is the logistics of doing it. Because Ralph's Rock Diner are the people who run that place are the coolest people ever. They love having us come by, and it's always fun doing that. We do a lot of summer shows with them, but they don't have any room in their building for a ring, and so they were like, "Well, we'll do it outside," and we were like, "Maybe not." Um, and then because it
it
was
was
very
like
cold
12
out,
degrees.
I mean,
It's
I love that they were very gung ho. They were like, "You're going to do it here, perfect." But then logistics, and then it became a matter of, well, if we get a U-Haul now, we probably won't be able to return it for several days because Christmas and Christmas Eve, and then maybe even to the New Year. So we did a bunch of logistics, and we just went, you know what? We're just going to put a bunch of padding on the stage and do a hardcore show. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
it totally worked.
And the thing was, it was like, well, saying it doesn't matter isn't the right phrasing because I think every Thursday Forever is something like we are very serious about in like a weird way. It's like it's something like it was giving us like a bit of a panic. We were like, what do you mean? We're like, we have to do a show Thursday. We have to always do a show Thursday.
Yeah,
But it gives, and that was such a nice thing to do as well because it was Christmas, and there are people who don't have somewhere for Christmas. Same way that we did Thanksgiving. There's sometimes you're not doing anything Thanksgiving. It's something you get to be with your community. You get to do your thing. Or you could be like most of us where we went, yeah, sorry, family. It's cool we had lunch, but like I'm gonna go drive and I might be back tonight, tomorrow. Bye, and we run away.
yeah. No, I actually have a low key funny story. There was a girl I was kind of dating during Christmas, and one of the reasons why I stopped dating her, to be honest with you, was we were supposed to go for the Christmas show, and she got like super drunk for like Christmas dinner. So, which is fine. You want to drink, you can drink all you want, but at the time
Oh,
I'm
but a show
dressed
to
up.
make it.
Exactly. I got a show to get to, and granted, I'm not getting paid, and I'm nobody in this industry whatsoever. I get that. But if I show up to a bar with an already drunk woman, I'm gonna look like an idiot, and I am not professional whatsoever. So I told her, she's like, "Oh, well, I'll just take a nap in the car." I'm like, "It's literally 12 degrees outside. You will die of hypothermia. That's not how this works. Like, you have to stay home." So she stayed at her home, and I went to the show and everything was fine. Um, but yeah, it was definitely something that the whole drive there, I was just almost like low key nervous because I was just like, what are they gonna do? Like I just and then when we got to come in early, me and a few of the regulars, and there were some like Nepwa people there that were doing like you know, crew. It's not ring crew anymore. It's just like regular crew. And they were doing crew, and they were like security, right? And I'm talking to them and I'm just like, my brain, I've never not seen a wrestling ring, so I'm just like staring at the stage like I don't understand what's gonna happen right now. Like I
Yes.
couldn't I
It's
couldn't
so
get it.
fun seeing what you can do with limitations, I find. So many people are like,
Yeah,
oh, but I can't do this and I can't do this and I can't do this. It's like, okay, then that means that everything you do is going to be really weird and fun. Like, nobody's going to have seen it before because they've never had to work in this limitation. Like,
right.
we're doing a show where somebody got cocoa powder thrown in their eyes to blind them. That's nuts. Like, there's so much fun stuff. Handyman wrapped all of his weapons as Christmas presents. That's
Yes.
delightful.
Yes. It was so much fun. And I was low key terrified after the first match because, you know, Rich had told me, "Hey, you're on first. You got the first match. You're good to go." He gave me the card and he's like, "Here we go," and yada yada yada. And then he called
He's
me on
just having a
stage.
little to drink.
Yeah. So
I,
he called me on stage and I was like, "Give it up for Rich Palladino. He's the GOAT." And then I turn around and Rich is back and I'm like, "Rich, what did I thought I was in trouble. I genuinely thought I was in trouble." And then he's like, "Chris, give me the mic." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And I give him the mic and he's like, "Are you serious?" And I was just like, "Oh no." Like my brain just went into panic mode where I thought I had done something completely wrong. Like I was just like, what did I do? I didn't all I said was Palladino's the GOAT. And he was just like and he just kind of, he gave me the motion, so I jumped off the stage real quick. And then he was like, "Apologies, I messed up." And I was like, oh, it wasn't me. I literally thought I was in trouble. Like I felt like the little kid going to the principal's office or something. So, not to say I want Rich Palladino to mess up, but it was
it
it
was a
was
relief that it
very
wasn't you.
right. It was nice that it wasn't me. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, messing up a match is scary when you're like, oh no, what did I do? There was a show I helped out on. I think I was just ringing the bell somewhere out in New York. I think it might have been an ACW, and there was this women's match, uh, where I wasn't familiar with a lot of the workers, and right at the beginning of the match, one of the girls slid under the ring and hid. I did not realize, and I thought the match had been won. By the time they'd gotten through like four of the girls getting eliminated, I was like, well, there's one girl left, ring the bell. And so I rung the bell. But then the other girl got out and then attacked the one girl left in the ring. And over the headset, they'd also forgotten that this girl hadn't been eliminated. They're like, ring the bell. It's like ring it like we need referees out there. And then they went, oh wait, the match is still on. And I was like, oh shoot. And so we were like, what are you gonna do? But
What are you gonna do? Yeah, I know. It's my first time with Sean. I kind of, you could say, messed up, but I was I don't know. Maybe I should have told people I was going to try to do something impromptu because I was told Sean was going to take the microphone from me, and I don't know what, for some reason when Sean got in the ring and he looked at me, I thought to myself, why wouldn't I? I don't. My brain just thought, wouldn't it be better if I was saying something when he said, "Shut up, give me the microphone"? So I kind of like did this impromptu thing without telling anybody. And Rich kind of came over and tapped me on the foot when Sean's like talking. He's like, "Wait till he's done before you say anything." And I'm like, "Sorry, Rich, I was trying to do a thing." And he's like, "Just wait your turn." Whoops. Sean, afterwards, I said to Sean, I was like, "I'm sorry if I messed up your spot, bro." And he's like, "No, you're good. I could see where your brain was going with it." And I was like, "Yeah, it just kind of made more sense for me to be talking before you just like took the microphone." I don't know. Maybe it was stupid, but sometimes when you're in the ring, your brain goes to places, and that
yeah,
actually leads me to my next question, right?
yeah.
So, ring announcing requires quick thinking and energy. Do you have a favorite catchphrase or entrance call or moment that you feel really connected with the crowd?
Oh, it's hard to say. Um, yeah, that's actually really tricky. A favorite thing to say. I mean, the obvious one would be to go for like one fall because you get that immediate reaction back. But
Right? Cheap
there,
pop.
There are a couple of ones there are a couple of people I really like throwing some like spin on their introduction. Um, Clancy is someone I enjoy announcing. And just 'cause I get to, I really draw out that like Ryan, Clancy, Mosh Pit is fun because I just go, I don't need a voice for the rest of the show. What if I just yelled really loud? Um, which is just also fun. Um, Anytime a heel is just really gross or mean or something like that, whoever's coming out after them, they get the hero's entrance. They get me going, I'm their opponent. They get like a big, big intro. Just because if somebody works that hard to be booed, then let's see how hard we can get this person cheered. Is a lot of my logic there. And I always enjoy. I don't know. There was something really fun about doing something with the baddies on a show where they're sort of just being like mean or vindictive or they get me in a corner and that kind of stuff. Because I just feel like it's a great chance for them to really, I don't know, show themselves as not just someone trying to win a match, but someone who's just naturally vindictive and mean. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, this isn't just to win the match, they're just like this. There's nothing about what I'm doing that affects them winning or losing. They still choose to be cruel and insulting and mean. And places like WFA let me do that a lot. At Wrestling Open, less so. There was, mainly because of one thing. We have it in. There was one time I was replacing Rich for the night. After I'd kind of just about figured out how I was announcing, and I felt pretty comfortable doing it. And every heel that night made a point of sort of taking my mic or making me open the ropes or insulting me during their comments, whatever it was. Um, and just every single one of them like clockwork. And the next week, Drew was like, "Hey, I know you wouldn't have tried that with Rich. Don't try that with Lauren." And since then, I've got nothing on those shows like that where I'm like, okay. But he's standing up for me. Where he's like, I know you wouldn't try and pull that with Rich, so don't try and pull it with Lauren.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. It's a valid point. And it could be easy, cheap heat for someone to get for just like picking on you.
It can be cheap, but it's also a bit of fun. So I get both
So,
sides of it.
no, definitely. I want to say when Mike Grassa came out, he was very much. I mean, he wasn't a heel, in my opinion. He wasn't really a heel, but he just kind of got in my face, and then I was like, it was actually kind of funny because my brain was just like, here's a guy that I love and respect, but like, in the moment you're like, oh, geez, like, please don't punch me, sir. I don't know you
Yeah.
like that, bro. So I'm just like, oh.
My always excuse is sometimes people are like, you should just hit him. And I go, I'm in heels.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I'm not going to fight somebody in heels.
right, right, and I neglected to say this sooner, but you got a hell of a stride in those heels. Like
Thank you.
you're
Oh,
coming
those
down.
heels are my favorite. They're definitely they are run ragged, those shoes. But I can run in them. I can run
Oh,
in
I
them,
bet.
leap in them, jump in them. I dive out of the ring in them. I did like a rock star knee slide doing something at Beyond the other day. Like those, they're the best shoes. As long as you have a wide heel, I find that walking heels isn't too difficult. Um, but the running is fun. The running I do just for me. Like if I'm like, oh well, I've got like 5 minutes, but I gotta go run, do something. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna run, and I just bolt. So there's something fun about somebody seeing me running by, and I'm like in heels, just running
No,
for
I
my
mean
life.
like especially whether it's the start of the show or we come back from intermission, you're just like clip clopping down the ramp like so fast, just like how does she do it? Like that's incredible. Like in my mind, just
Yeah.
like you just like, and then you got your ponytail just like flying in the wind in the back,
Yeah.
just raising about. So I've always just been like, um, man, hey, you're so talented. Can I just say that? Can I just say that? We're not
I'll
not
take
not
it. I'll take it.
not trying to mark out here, but I don't know. I find you to be so talented, and your voice is just so strong and larger than life that I genuinely enjoy when you're in there and you're doing all that stuff. I guess that kind of feeds into my next question actually. Do you like, as a woman, are
Mm.
there any unique challenges or triumphs that you've had to encounter, especially with your size?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I think wrestling's made a lot of strides towards. It's not strides towards equality. It's strides towards being slightly less sexist, and it's and that's fine. It's tricky because wrestling is a sport where, like, here's one example of it. Everyone in wrestling is kind of slightly scantily clad, right?
Yeah.
But it's only like a thing that freaks people out when it is the girls, who are frankly usually more covered than the men. So it's always just like little mental things. I've had coaches who always say, "Okay, you guys, oh, and you, or and the girls," and it's like I could figure it out from there. Just little tweaks like that. But I mean, I've heard some crazy things said about me in locker rooms. I've heard some like really awful things. Um, I've had people say, like, fully brush off the idea that I could ever do wrestling, which is insane to me because I know so many people at my size, at my height, that can and do wrestle, and they do so on like much bigger stages than I do. Um, Fans can be incredibly weird. I've gotten some of the
Oh my
most
God.
uncomfortable conversations of my life. Wrestlers can be weird. I've had some of the even worst conversations of my life talking to wrestlers, especially ones I don't know, who just come out the gate saying, God, I mean, it's in every walk of life, but you just find people who see somebody and go, oh well, you're here and you're willing to talk to me, therefore I have the right to say the most appalling things to you. And it's never even like it's never on the level of, oh well, you're on a show, you're a personality thing. It's just, oh, you're a woman and you're here, so I'm going to say this. And there are some very odd ones. People who don't understand boundaries, people who like follow me around. Like, there's so many of these sorts of things. But I mean, it's strange as well. Just to go off on a quick tangent. I never got much of this weird stuff when I was a bit younger. My whole childhood and going into like being in high school, I had like the pixie cut where I had fully shaved, like spiky on top kind of hair. So I never got any of this like weird staring or the weird comments until I hit like being in public doing wrestling. And so it was all a lot at once. And it was really surreal being like, oh, I everything about how I move and I act is being seen in a very different way now, and figuring out what I was willing to adjust and what I wasn't willing to adjust about how I talk to people, how I move in the world.
Yeah, no, that's definitely respectable and commendable. You know, I had a conversation with, well, Shannon was on the podcast. You divulged a little, so I'll divulge a little. Especially being the father of a daughter, right? And I'm not exactly 22 anymore. So a lot of that stuff I just cringe. Just
Yeah.
completely cringe, and I find appalling. And it's not even like in a fake outrage type of way. It's just like my brain just genuinely couldn't understand it. There, whether it be me trying to be a professional in the industry or not. Not to mention, if I even like look at a beautiful female who is in the wrestling profession, my daughter would probably gouge my eyeballs out at this point. Because she's like, listen, I want to look up to these people. I want to respect them. I want them to come on my podcast. And if you hitting on them one time made them uncomfortable and now they won't give me an autograph, I'll punch you, old man. So if
Respect
anything,
that. She's very direct.
right, she doesn't,
No beating
I
around
don't
the
know where
bush.
she learned it from, but she's very direct. So she's very direct. She's made sure her feelings are abundantly clear. And obviously I'm a man, right? I can't sit there and I haven't seen a woman and just be like, so do you think that you've ever wanted a stepmom that's a wrestler? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, come on. right? There's some very beautiful, very wonderful, very talented women, and then you just kind of daydream like they need a videographer. I can do that. You know what I mean? Maybe they need.
And that's you make a good point there of like everyone can like find somebody attractive or find them interesting and things like that. But there is such a difference between how you think and how you act. You know, you
Yes,
could think, "Oh, I hate that guy. I wish I could kill him." You're not going to get arrested unless you kill him. You're not
yes,
going to make me uncomfortable unless you're acting in a way that makes somebody uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
as long as you're like on a base level respectful, um, things are usually fine. And I find I'm really lucky. I mean, I say all these terrible things. I say all these things about wrestlers I've met, about fans I've met, about rooms I've been in, about ways I've been asked to dress on shows. All these things, top to bottom. But I surround myself with people who will not stand for that. I mean, even sometimes you wouldn't believe it. I can be a bit of a pushover where I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, cool talking to you. And then I'll tell someone else about that and they'll go, so why didn't you tell us? We would have had him thrown from the building. Like, I will especially say every single person at BioPro is phenomenal. My coaches, TJ, Doug, Tom Santel, Ricky Shane Page, DC, everybody has my back on this stuff. And having a community that supports and respects and understands and occasionally makes fun of me, it's all you can ask for, and it's been such a blessing to know like the home front is secure. I don't have to deal with anyone being weird about it. I've got one. You know what? I'm going to divulge a story to you. There was, and I'll be very vague about who this is about because it doesn't really matter. There was somebody who was training to become a pro wrestler. I don't know whatever happened to this person, um, but they'd come to help out in an episode of Wrestling Open, and they'd introduced themselves to me briefly. Before that, we were doing ring crew, and he was just sort of not letting me breathe. He was right on me as I was, bringing boards up to the stage. And he was like, oh, you know, I want to talk about this, you're so strong. Like, it's crazy that you can move that. The girls at my old school, they couldn't do that or this. I'm like, I don't really care about the girls at your school. Could you help me with ring crew? That kind of thing. And he goes, oh my God, your accent. I didn't realize your accent. That's crazy. Where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from England. And I need you to really brace yourself because this man looked at me and went, "Oh wow, yeah, I can see that, and I can totally see you. I can totally picture you doing this thing as like this young, beautiful, innocent British princess kind of thing." And everyone in the room just kind of stopped what they were doing because he was speaking very loudly. Young, beautiful, innocent British princess has followed me for years.
Oh, Jesus.
That for that person, not a problem. Dealt with, handled.
Right.
But I'll be damned if everyone I train with hasn't at some point made some joke at my expense about the young, beautiful, innocent British princess. So
Oh,
these are and you think that's just so surreal. But these are the things that, for some reason, some people just feel comfortable saying, and
yeah.
that's insane, isn't it?
It is. It truly is. And I mean, I can't pretend like back when I was in my 20s, I didn't talk to women at a bar. When you go, but when you go to a bar, that's kind of what you're expecting, or a
Yeah.
club,
Well,
right?
this is when you're doing your job and being a
Yes,
student and doing ring crew. That's not what
exactly.
I'm expecting.
Exactly. So there's a time and a place for such a things. And then there's just a time where you should probably be quiet,
Yeah.
right? And or a time where if you said something, your daughter would punch you in the face really
There you
hard.
go.
You know what I mean? Or just
Somebody to keep you on the level.
exactly keep you be very disappointed in you. And it's not even just like I don't it. It's kind of that whole topic is kind of odd, right? Because I've always said this, right? The difference between a stalker and your husband is actually or wife or whatever, right? Is your perception of the person. Because, I could list, there's a person who's always there for you. They show up with flowers. They're there no matter what. And you'd be like, "Oh, that sounds like a great." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what my stalker did. My stalker, I actually have had one before, to be fair. She was always there. She was always trying to be around me. She was always being super nice to me. She was always trying to be whatever. And it's like, yeah, but I didn't want her to do that, right?
Yeah,
So it's all perception. Perception is reality in that manner of speaking, at least.
yeah, there's a level of boundaries. You can open yourself up to people, and there are some people where it's like, well, the barrier's closed right now, and that's not
Right.
something we're arguing about. But to bring it more specifically away from maybe more uncomfortable people and more just to situational stuff, there are very few women in professional wrestling, like percentage wise, still to this day. Um, which I would say blows me away, but it doesn't in the slightest because situationally I understand why. I've seen people get uncomfortable and and sort of step away from wrestling when they begin training because they haven't liked the culture or where they trained and things like that. Um, but there is such a bad habit that schools have, and luckily we haven't had that situation here. But at other schools, I've seen it where a girl joins their class and they go, "Oh, thank goodness, a female." And so they take this girl, and they throw her through training. They give her the basics really quickly. They figure out if she can bump, and they go, "Perfect, let's put you on shows." They slap her in a set of gear. They send her out there, and she's awful. And that'll either lead to them going, good enough, and sending her to keep doing this and learning bad habits and being stuck in this kind of cycle of so-so matches. Or sometimes it won't work out. They'll be like, this just isn't for me. And they end up quitting. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, a woman comes out, she's trained super well, she's super good, or she's going to get snatched up immediately. She's immediately going to go to a TV or some kind of program. She's going to get signed somewhere. If she's really good, she's really solid. And that leaves us with the people who, obviously this is generalizing, but you end up with the girls from the previous scenario who are just about good enough, who just got kind of thrown through training, and now they're going to continue repeating the cycle of having these like, okay, whatever matches. And obviously over time this is improving. And we see these great women's wrestlers coming out more and more. You have your Shannons, you have Olivia is an amazing current example of someone
Yeah.
who was blowing everybody away. You have powerhouses, you have Gabby Forza, you have so many great people. But so often I see this thing where I wish I could just shake some of these coaches and go, what are you thinking? When people just need more time, they need more work. But we need females. That is the thing. I've heard that. And it's never we need women. It's never we need girls, that just is a pet peeve of mine. But I could not tell you the amount of promotions where I've just had we need more females. We don't have any girls. We need more women, and it's at every promotion, and it's all the way down the line. Like even at Wrestling Open, sometimes it can be difficult to find women for our week to week programming, just because there's less people reaching out, or they're out of the way, or if they do wrestle, they're able to ask a higher price, and so it can be like, well, then financially, do we do this, or do we do something within budget with a group of guys who are local? And so it becomes this issue. Um, and it's no fault of the girls who are working as hard as they can, but it just becomes this sort of structural issue. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, and I could say that's a conversation I've actually had with multiple people across the fandoms. I
Yeah,
mean, most fandoms kind of overlap in these days, but when it comes to the independent scene, you really don't have as many females as maybe there once was. And there's a reason why, like the Chaotic Women's Championship became the Panoptic Championship, right?
mm.
Right now you have Shannon Levangie as the Panoptic champion, and she defends it against men and women. And it's like, yes, we would, it's almost, and I said this to Shannon, and I'll say this again, it's crazy because in the 90s, there really wasn't uh, well, at least as far as Vince McMahon was concerned,
Yeah. In
allegedly,
the American sphere.
there wasn't a need for female wrestling, like proper female wrestling, supposedly. And basically it's kind of to the point where we're almost starved for more,
Yeah.
and it's a testament to, honestly, and I put it in that podcast, NXT Black and Gold, in my opinion, where that was really the genesis of American female wrestling going from being a disgusting sideshow where women had to get naked to be on TV
Yeah.
to let's actually try to let these people do their job.
Yeah.
Like, heaven
I mean,
forbid.
there have been times in the past where there have been semi-successful introductions of legitimate competitive women's wrestling over time, but very often they would end up being folded back and replaced with something more of a spectacle than a wrestling match.
Exactly.
So the fight's gone on for a very long time. But I would agree, yeah, it took until like the 2010s to really start to see some like real pushes being made for the sake of,
Exactly.
competitive women's wrestling in America. Um, it's just it's bizarre. You mentioned earlier Shannon with the Panoptic Championship. This is something that I'm a diehard for this. I am a very strong. Um, I mean, I'm of the belief that I think intergender wrestling, I think, is the future. I'm of the belief that I think that's one of the best things that you could do for independent wrestling. I think a lot of women should be wrestling a lot more guys on the indie scene, just because that's where there's a lot of great experience you can gain. And if you're in like a town where there's maybe two women's wrestlers and you keep wrestling the same two wrestlers, you can only get so far. If you start branching out, maybe there's some guys or somebody gets brought in, and that can be a way where you can develop your skills a lot more. It's just a wider range of opportunities to grow and learn. Um, I it's going to be a long time till I think there's any opportunity for it to become something that might be seen on a larger scale. Just because I think to this day there's still this mentality of, oh, it looks too violent or too abusive or too. There's so many different
Right.
weird things around it. But at
Social
the end of the
stigma.
day, and this is something I've always said, it's like, think about the smallest guy you've ever seen on a wrestling show. They've definitely put him against someone who's like vaguely 7 feet tall to do some of the grand underdog story. I mean, we've all seen it, like
Yeah,
the little guy,
yeah.
the big guy.
Danny,
In what world is it any different from a guy facing a girl? I don't understand it. And if somebody's like, oh, well, it's unrealistic, then I say you have to look at what you're watching and ask what about some of this is realistic. Um, just truly, I've yet to see an argument that I think with time can't change or improve. Uh, so I've always really respected intergender, and obviously there is like they're really weird. There's like this weird sexual perspective on it where it's like, oh well, no, it's kind of like pervy and weird, and it's like that's really in the eye of the beholder a lot of the time. Whereas like
now,
this match would probably be the same if it was a guy, and there'd be a lot less weird comments about it. But it's just I think it's a matter of time. I think there's a lot of good that intergender could do for wrestling. But that's just me.
yeah, no, I mean it definitely has become more prevalent. RWA put out that Omni title, and the first champion is the Queen, right? Ariel. So I feel like it's being embraced more, and maybe you could say it's mostly due to the fact that there is a genuine lack of female professional wrestlers in the New England area, but also there's plenty of those matches are great. And you said it yourself, and I got it right here. Big Ben Bishop, right?
Yeah.
So Big Trouble. I just saw him a month ago. He wrestled Danny Miles. This this gentleman is 6'12", right? And Danny Miles is what, 5'4"? So that's
Oh,
a
I think a little taller than that.
so
Put him and I at eyes.
so what I'm saying is you're not wrong when you say, is that such a far-fetched concept? And
Yeah.
I can definitely say that maybe while, the older generations age out of there, maybe they'll be more comprehensive and understanding of that. It's also kind of a weird thing, not to get socio-political, but so many people will say something like gender doesn't matter, but then it's like, well, a dude's beating up a chick and you know what I mean?
You're bolting at it, yeah.
You're
So much
you're
of it is even like subconscious. And that's the thing,
yeah,
I can that's like the thing that bugged me all the time where I'm like, I'm not gonna blame that person. It truly is just like I don't want to say how they were raised, because that's a complete cop out, but there is a level of just when your whole life there's even been that little thing. You're like I could bring it back to what strong boys want to help me collect the chairs in elementary school. Like if I really want to get really nitty gritty with how much of it is built in from the very beginning, I could. But like there's we all know there's like all those little things of expectations are different. Uh, like the culture of it is different. Like
Yeah,
it's I just think it's something that it's going to change with the way the world changes.
yeah.
It's slowly but surely.
As the world turns, as the TV show is called, right? Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's one of the reasons why, it's probably, I'm sure if somebody was butthurt or controversial in their way, that's why I said NXT Black and Gold, in my opinion, is better than the Attitude Era, because we treated women better and we treated them with the dignity and the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, my mother is one of my heroes. I've said this to her several times. She had 7 children. She raised them by herself, and she worked really hard to do it. So I am not like, I guess, we're talking about nature versus nurture. I would have grown up in the atmosphere knowing, yeah, my mom can do it. I don't like it. It never was like a thought like, oh, she's a girl, she can't do it. You know what I mean? So it is almost like a foreign concept for me at times when people are like, well, she's a girl. I'm like, the fuck
What are
does
you
that
talking
matter?
about?
The fuck does that matter? Like, you want to go fist fight my mom because she'll probably punch you. So let's go, bro. Like,
There you go.
I got money on her, bro. Like, it's fine. And then having a daughter, right? I'll be damned if somebody tells me, well, your daughter can't do it because of her gender. The
Yeah,
fuck she can't. Okay.
yeah.
Ugh. Right now her dream is to become a photographer for wrestling, right?
That's awesome.
And what would gender have to do with taking a picture?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So, I mean, granted, this world never really makes too much sense to me, but I always, I always tell my kids, if things can't make sense, try to make dollars. Bad dad jokes.
Yeah.
um. So, question here: what's one match or event from your career so far that you're most proud of, and why?
I'm gonna have to go with I think yeah, I'll say Ballroom Blitz just from the other week. I came into that with a sort of I had an odd attitude that week. I was very tired. I'd forgotten that I was covering it. I'd figured it was a Thursday or something I was covering, and I was like, oh, it's Beyond show. And I went, oh, I was gonna enjoy that. Okay, well now I have to figure out this, I have to figure out the time, I have to figure out this, I'm gonna have to go do it. And I came into it going, oh well, I'll just get through it. It kind of blew me away. There was a point later in the show, because I enjoyed myself doing the show. I had a great time. There was a
Well,
point during Willow Nightingale versus Gabby Forza where I looked next to me at the production guy there, and I just went, and I just started talking to him about the first few times I did Beyond shows, and how the first time I ever was told I was doing and running like a proper Beyond card, I could barely sleep the night before because I was so excited that I'd get to do the bro hymn introduction with the microphone. And I was like, because that was the kind of thing that I loved when I was younger and when I was going to these shows, because this was what introduced me to wrestling. This was my like big thing. And I just thought, and I came into today going, oh, I guess I'll do it. That's insane. I'm the luckiest person alive. I mean, I don't think I can't think of somebody who's gotten the opportunity to announce for a WWE champion, a AAA champion, a TNA champion, and an AEW champion in one night, on one show, under one roof. That's insane. And I had so much fun doing it. And I've gotten to the point now where like a lot of the fans are able to know me and recognize me. And it was one of those days that reminds you how good this is, why you love it. Um, and obviously the matches were spectacular, and the workers were top rate, and it was just an incredible experience. So I would say that out of everything, that's something I'm immensely proud of, was getting to be on that show.
yeah, that, and I try to avoid this now because I think I've said it on every single podcast I've ever done, but we are spoiled in New England. We literally
Oh,
have
yes.
so many. There's like, it seems like an infinite supply of very talented professionals in New England. And then there are, on any given night, like 4 or 5 shows, right? Um, so you're talking about Ballroom Blitz. I would have been just not too far down the road, um, listening to Palladino for Chaotic Wrestling,
Oh, yeah.
right? And um, low key, me and my daughter were kind of mad because that the Friday before that show, there was no wrestling going on. And I'm like, how are there 6 shows next Friday and there's nothing today? Why couldn't Blitz be today? Like we were
Because
sitting there doing nothing.
some promotions figure it out and then they move their stuff. WFA was originally going to run that Friday. They run the last Friday of every month. And then they went, a lot of our talent says that they can't do it. Why is that? And they went, oh, that's why. Shut the
Yeah,
calendar. Moved it a day. It ended up
yes,
working out
yes.
just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Corey told me that because I had seen Corey Duke for anybody. I'd seen Corey Duke
The Duke
and
boys are amazing.
oh, I love them so much. Like they just got so much positive, happy energy. They're out there doing their thing. Mr. Saturday Night, Corey, I love you, bro. I need to get you a beer. Um, um, but I had seen Corey the week before, and I was like, "Hey, man, you ready for that match?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to be there." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, they moved the WFA show. I can't be there now." And I was like, and I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, oh, that makes sense because normally Chaotic Wrestling and WFA run on the same days. And that night, I want to say there was WFA, probably Limitless, Beyond, Chaotic, and I think like Rebel Spirit or something like not like
Some
Blood,
real
Sweat, and
heavy
Tears.
hitters that night too. It
Yeah,
wasn't, oh well, this guy's running a show somewhere. No, these were all big ones too.
right, exactly. We had Bacon versus Armani Chaos for the Chaotic title. There wasn't like, oh well, we're missing out on JJ and I have sat there and we've had to literally say, what are we doing for these particular events? And we've put it as maybe it goes Shannon. I'm just going to be honest. Number one is Shannon. If Shannon's there, we're there. All right. Number two is Nepwa, which normally means Shannon's there, so it's fine, right? But number one is always Shannon. And then number three is like everybody else, right? Depending on who's been friendly or like I said before, I feel like I have a good rapport with got like Evan and Brian over at Focus Pro. Um, I just lost his name in Supernova. Rebel Spirit's been very kind to us. Julie Cutler has been super kind to us. Certain people in certain places have been super nice and welcoming because I couldn't do half of what I do, or JJ couldn't do half of what she um, does if those people weren't welcoming because we're literally photographing and video recording their product, right? Drew
Yeah.
Cordero is the one who owns the legal rights to anything beyond wrestling related. So if he didn't want me to post the videos or the photos that we take, um, there legally speaking, there's nothing I could do about it. So I'm very, very well aware of that thought process and the fact that some of those people have opened their doors and welcomed us in and have been, they'll repost our stuff or they'll even they definitely a lot of people they'll repost our stuff or I've seen I don't want to name names because I don't want it to be a thing, but I've seen some of them like literally take our pictures and use it for their next event. And I'm like, holy crap, did you see this picture? Like that was the picture I took. This is amazing. Like it's super awesome to be welcomed by those people. But yeah, we definitely in New England are 100% um, spoiled, rotten, and I say it to my. I mean, to almost everybody in every podcast. Like we're super lucky. I definitely was looking at the card. Someone like Willow Nightingale is somebody that I'd love for JJ to talk to. Gabby Forza has always been super kind and generous with her time anytime we've seen her. And JJ really looks up to and admires Gabby for her strength. And I feel like I feel like if I could get like 6 minutes with somebody like Gabby and just be like, listen, if you put 5 seconds into this kid, she would be like probably the a next student at a school, to be quite frank with you. I genuinely believe if like someone is like, listen, kid, don't you want to get in shape and do this? She'd probably be like, yeah, okay, let's go. Like I'm old man dad, so what I say doesn't matter, but I genuinely feel like it's she's close, but if somebody would just kind of give her that like little push over the edge, she would run with it.
Yeah.
Um, Gabby was nice enough to be like, "Hey, you should come see me at the next Limitless show. I think it's March 27th." And they haven't announced it yet, but I'm assuming there's going to be a WFA show, and I'm assuming there's going to be a chaotic show. So I'm assuming we can't go to it. But
I
uh,
believe WFA is running, yeah.
yeah, so exactly. So there's always
They're
like,
doing something with Shannon, so I might know. Yeah, yeah, it's good odds you might end up at WFA.
all right, yeah. I mean, if Shannon's there, we'll probably we'll be there. Shannon comes first. But
Shannon's the deciding factor.
As far as JJ is concerned, Shannon always come first. In fact, I told Shannon this on the podcast, like, hey, there are people like Bailey and Izzy Moreno, and you might be wrestling mom in like 5 years from now when JJ decides to put the boots on. I'm just letting you know. She's gotten the ability to go into the ring once to take a picture with DJ, and when she got out of the ring, she looked at me and she said, "Oh, now I know what you mean." Because I told her like
Yeah.
there's that feeling you get when you're in the ring just to be in the ring. And she got out of the ring and she had that glimmer in her eye. So, and if you would have asked me at 15 what I wanted to do with my life, I would have said the next Stone Cold Steve Austin's by far. I've idolized that man to no end.
Yeah.
My question for you, and it kind of feeds into that, is, and you kind of just touched on it a brief second, so I'm curious now. Um, what when did you become a wrestling fan, and what influenced you to love professional wrestling the way you do?
It was beyond. It absolutely was beyond when I was again I was 16 roughly. I'm doing kind of reverse dating of myself here. But I got into professional wrestling when I was 16, and then almost immediately, I don't know, I would have been 15. Would have been 15 because then immediately COVID hit. And so COVID meant I wasn't going to any shows. I think I began watching a bit of TV wrestling, but I was mainly just watching a lot of back catalog stuff, a lot of Beyond. I got into some of the high spots catalog as well. Um, I just I really loved people like Orange Cassidy was an early favorite, but Chuck Taylor was my favorite wrestler. Probably still is among my top favorite wrestlers. Um, I just loved the approach where you could be funny, you could be serious. There was wrestling had so much range, um,
Right.
and you could tell so many interesting stories. And it really, the more I saw of it, the more I fell in love with it. Um, I don't know, it was pretty simple. And then one day I realized, wait a minute, just in driving distance. Then I started going to live shows. And then when they opened, they announced ahead of time they were going to be opening the Beyond Institute of Professional Wrestling. I'd already been sort of vaguely going, oh well, maybe one day I'll train a little bit. And then I saw that and I went, okay. And I applied to every college in Worcester. So I was like, yeah, what do you mean? I've just been there a bunch and I like the look of the town, and I'm gonna go learn theater in Worcester for no other particular reason. I got there and immediately, I had like birthday money I put down. I was like, get me in a class. I never even went to see a class. I just showed up one day with my jump rope, my shoes, and a notebook. Because I'd already paid. I signed the waiver. Um, Everyone looked at me and went, Brett, we didn't realize you had a little sister. And Brett Metro was like, I don't, not that one. And no, it was me. Um, Somehow an adult at that point. Um, and I don't know, it just kind of the rest became history.
That's a great story. And that's hilarious about Brett Mitch.
They were like, why is she sitting in today?
Yeah. Um,
I think
oh
I think
man,
baking I think Bacon had been helping out. that first day that I was there as well. So he was teaching me like forward rolls, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Forward rolls was scary for me when I was younger. I was okay at some of the like more gymnasticy stuff, but going over my own head, I was freaked out by. So the first day, I was like, okay, I need to get this down now, which luckily I did. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I've been slowly, I don't know, maybe it's because I've been going to too many shows or something, but over the last couple of months, I've just it's become this like terrifying idea. Like it's and I think it comes from my genuine tradition of imposter syndrome, right?
mm.
I that's something that I personally struggle with and I talk about quite frequently. That and my aunt calls it a generational curse that it comes from my father's side of the family that we all just have this imposter syndrome. But um literally I you know the idea of doing X, Y, or Z related to the ring, I almost started putting it on like this. I put it on this pedestal. I'm like, oh, who the heck am I to be allowed to touch this majestic, you know, um, magical object of entertainment, right? Sports entertainment. Like I've and it's silly, and I say it out loud to try to break the curse in my head, but I sometimes I sit there and I just like it's not that big a deal. Like some people, I look at it and I say it's almost like I'm psyching myself out before I even really start the rodeo here. I've had to Donovan Dijak, he was on the podcast. He was very nice about this. He gave me some pretty good pointers. But the idea is that my brain has just kind of morphed into like you don't deserve to be in that ring, but like at the same point emotionally speaking I feel like it's the only place I should be, so it's that duality there. My I guess my next question would be the um the idea of you've obviously seen a lot of stuff, you've been through a lot of stuff, right? Do you have someone that you wish you would see? Because I feel like with the Wrestling Open, you could never say never, right? Like the
Yeah.
fact that you were able to do, like we said 17 times at this point, TNA, WWE, AEW, AAA in one night. I mean, you guys got smart Mark Sterling on a on a regular basis, you should say, not to mention other AEW talent. But is there someone that you would have maybe you have seen that you would love to introduce, or like an all-star person?
Not an all-star, but I have two people I very, very much want to see at Wrestling Open. And it's something I've been fighting for a long time. I want to see them both. I want to see Superfan John Austin and I want to see Vile at Wrestling Open. Hands down. Those are my people right now. I am fighting so hard to see there because they would blow everybody away. Hands down.
Right. Which shout out to them because they are maybe once again it shouldn't be killing everybody's gimmick here, but they're super awesome people. So they've been nothing but hospitable to me and JJ on a regular basis. So shout out to them. Super fan, such a cool guy. Um, it's always a genuine pleasure to see them, and they're always so hospitable. And they were doing ring crew at the Beyond show. Not they've been doing. They
Yeah.
did ring. The both of them did ring crew for that Beyond show that you guys had in
With the Arts, the Armory, yeah.
yeah, the Arts of the Armory, which was a very unique and great venue, by the way. That
Yeah,
was a
it's a
super
gorgeous
cool.
space. We're going to be going back there this month for a double header. It's going to be a Beyond show and a WWR show, which is exciting. Bringing the old show out of retirement, all women's event. We're going to be doing a women's tournament for tomorrow.
Oh my God,
I
JJ is
know.
going to lose her mind. That she has been dying to do like an all women's whatever. She is actually part. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me because I'm terrible with names. But AEW has a female club that you can be a part of.
The
You,
Heels Club. Is it still the
yes,
Heels?
Heels Club.
Yeah.
JJ's a part of that club, and she's been dying to get more and more females onto her podcast and have more and more conversations with them. She really wants to be part of the sisterhood or whatever. Like, obviously, I couldn't understand that because I'm a guy and I'm proud to be a guy here, and that's my, personal preference. But she definitely wants to shine a light more and more on, females in the space. All I want to do is help her do
Yeah.
that, quite frankly. I guess the what about wrestling wise? Was there someone you'd ever, if you got to wrestle one person from the past or the present, is there a person?
For being heartbroken when I keep bringing him up, which I'm beginning to sound crazy. I was a bit devastated when Chuck Taylor retired. I'd always hoped one day he'd do a Beyond return and maybe I'd get the chance. Um, but currently, I would really love to go toe to toe with Livia. Um, I think she's somebody who's doing so well. She blows me away. Her physique is insane. Her ring work is insane.
You get the
My only
gun.
hope would be keeping up. That truly, I'd want to see how if I could keep up because she's a blast. She's a great person. I love chatting with her, and I would yeah, as I get more and more back into ring shape, she's someone I would absolutely love to work with.
Yeah, no, Livia, yeah, Livia seems like a super. I mean, she's got the big guns. You know what I mean? She's
Oh
got.
yeah. Oh, I'm so jealous. Every time I go, God, I need to work harder. I need to do more arms. I'm going to go home and do arm
Right.
training.
Um, Uh, I guess one question would be for anyone aspiring to be an announcer at watching indie shows, seeing what you're doing, do you have any advice for them?
Announcing is a very tricky thing to get into because you need a lot of wrestlers for wrestling shows. You only need one announcer, you know? Um, Finding somewhere that will give you the opportunities is often the hardest thing. Um, I lucked into it by having some wrestling experience. I feel like getting in the ring in any regard, being a ref, being an announcer, being a wrestler, you need to be able to do a couple of basic things. You need to be able to move in the ring. You need to be able to, let's say, take a bump. That's a personal preference of mine. If you're going to be in there, you should know what to do. So there's that. Working on projection, and diction. Diction is important. You can be as loud as you want, but if you're slurring your words, no one knows what you're talking about. Everything should be really concise and really, really clear.
Okay, that makes total sense. I've definitely seen, I don't want to call anybody out, but seen a couple of people. I mean, when you're the understudy for the GOAT, it's hard not to have a lot of pressure. There's so many of them, right? There's so many people and so many different like, and that's one reason why I'd love to get Palladino. And I know he's been hemming and hawing about it. And I don't think I know he thinks I know he knows it's gonna be truthful. I'm gonna honestly tell him how good he is, and he doesn't want me to do that. So I think that's one of the reasons why he doesn't get on the podcast. Um, like there's such big shoes to fill, right? And it's kind of hard and that's why I commend you for being able to run the rodeo and Rich is somewhere else because he's like the king of New England, and like I feel like when he retires, it's going to be like a war for that
He
space, right?
he says a lot, and it always makes me feel bad. He goes, "All these announcers waiting for me to die,"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "You can't say that."
it's terrible.
Oh man. Running a whole show is a lot different from doing the one match.
Of
There's
course.
a lot of stuff going on. Depending on the show, you may be asked to keep time. Some shows they'll ask you to be on the radio with people with earpieces in. Some places they have you do the bell. You need to run advertisements. You need to know when video packages are running. You need to know when to talk, how to advertise sponsors, how to advertise the food. That you need to be able to really just juggle. There'll be times where you need to get your cards in order. There are times you need to run and give somebody the mic for an interview. Do you know if you're going to be in the ring or out of the ring for the interview? Are you doing anything during? Are you passing it back and forth? It's it feels silly, but all of those are moving pieces where if you're kind of going, and stuttering, it's immediately visible. And it's immediately like, oh, they
Right.
don't know what they're doing. So you need to be on it every time. The An announcer's job is to make announcing look like the easiest thing in the world. But you are the thing that you're the first person they see, you are the last person they see. You tie the bow on the whole show. So it's something that it takes a lot of practice, but it's pretty damn rewarding, I'd say.
And it's funny. There's a similar. So being from like the film industry, there's a very similar um, thought process for editing, right? So most people, marginally speaking, don't notice when there's a good editor because that's their job. Their job is to um, make it seem seamless. But also, most people would notice when there's a bad editor, right? If you're a
Yeah.
terrible editor, it's very obvious very quickly, even to the lamest of moviegoer. So um, they're very much an unsung hero of the movie, similar to how a announcer would be for the event. Most of the time, I think to myself, you guys just need someone to hype up the crowd for 5 minutes before Rich comes out. Like, I'll do that. Just act like a crazy person and run around. TNA has one of those guys, so yeah. And he's
I,
also a ginger, so it's close enough. No, I'm
there you
just
go.
kidding.
No,
Um,
you say editor. The first thing that comes to mind for me, just because you do a lot of film, I do a lot of theater. My background with that, I sort of pictured a bit like being stage manager.
okay, I can see
Where
that. Yeah.
everyone else is doing their match, you have to know everything. You know, so in stage management, you know every scene, you know every line, you know where everyone's supposed to be. I feel like there's a similar level of that, depending on your level with ring announcing, where you're supposed to sort of be the thing that glues all of that.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And most people don't, they just think, hey, there's a guy just talking. And it's like, no, there's so much more. I'm standing next to Rich on the occasions I have. He's on the radio. He's doing the time. He's paying attention to everything all at once, everywhere. And he's getting the feedback from like Drew saying, "Go tell them about the sandwiches," right? So make a point to sell, right? Um, which some people just don't think of it. They're just like, "Oh, you just gotta have a cool voice," and it's like, that's cool,
No,
it's good.
no, so much more.
There's so much more to that. Speaking of cool stuff, right? So it was at the Wrestling Open 156, the last stand. You teamed with Davian and Spike Nishimura against Paris Van Dale, Tierra James, Tina San Antonio.
Yes.
What was the vibe like in that six-person tag? And do you have any fun memories of it?
I think we're all just trying to have like a pretty clean, simple match. It was kind of fun. It was the first time I'd been on a show and we'd really just like gotten in the ring and been like, okay, well, we're going to figure out our match now. And so that was pretty surreal. I do remember there was a lot of contention about what ended up breaking my arm, the spear. There had been a lot of discussion about it behind my back, apparently. People in higher power positions had gone, we don't want her doing anything top rope. That sounds scary. Or she could get herself hurt. What's something she could do that's super simple? A spear. So they came to me and went, Lauren, you're doing a spear. And I went, I don't know about that. We were just kind of figuring stuff out, but um, they were like, oh no, it's super easy. I'd never done one, was the main thing. Um, and as contentious a situation as it can be between me and let's say Drager, he did give me a lot of tips. When I got out of the ring and I went, hey, I'm doing a spear, and he laughed. I went, no, I am. Why? And I don't know. And he goes, okay, well, if you're doing it, you're going to do this, you've got to do this, you do this. I was like, so we'll figure that out. Naturally, spear, break my arm, nice. I don't know. Being able to just go out and get in the ring, it was just such a fun night. I'd always I mean, you talk about how good Rich is. I'd always imagined the day that Rich would get to introduce me, and that was the first time that ever happened. And that was as a wrestler, at least. And so that was just so thrilling. That was probably one of the highlights of my night. It's funny, to get kind of off what you were saying, but to spin a yarn about what happened when I broke my arm. I'd been sort of rushed to hospital pretty quickly. There's one right by there. It's a for-profit hospital that was happy to inform me they didn't have any arm slings. So they just kind of wrapped around my arm and they wrapped me wrist to neck. They took my x-ray. They didn't set my arm. They pumped me full of fentanyl. Like every 15 minutes, they gave me some, like a little bit more. They'd like have an IV in me. They had me try and figure out what I was doing on an iPad. And then they went, one guy went, okay, we're going to set you up for an EKG, and like put the stickers on me. And then the nurse came by and went, no, she's about to get discharged. So he took the stickers off. Um, Funnily enough, handyman and my sister, who had been at the show, come to pick me up. And they go, we found most of your stuff. Let's get you home. And I go, I mean, do I have to though? You know, I was so high at this point that from everything they'd pumped into me that I was like, can I just go back? I want to see the rest of the show. There's steel cage matches. I watched both main events from backstage. I clipped my jacket over me, and this will tell you how out of it I was. When Clancy won the title that night, all the baby faces came out to the ring to celebrate with him. I went. I went, I got into the ring. I needed someone to hold open the ropes for me because, again, my arm was flipping out of place because I had no sling. But then I got in there. I couldn't really clap, so I just did like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. That's
it was
wild.
absolutely surreal. So no, there was no treatment for my arm for 7 days. I got some CVS medications that they gave me. Like it was like an anti-nausea and a 600 mg ibuprofen, and it was 7 days before I was able to go to. I during the 7 days I went to like two more ERs. I got told to call several places for a consult. I made it to a place where they x-rayed me again and decided, oh well, we'll do surgery, but it's New Year's, so I'm going to push it a little bit further. The surgeon, he said, well, we could just, set it and let it heal, or it it'd probably be a lot more painful. We could go in and place the metal piece in there, which would keep it more stable in the future. And I went, nothing's more painful than this. I signed off immediately. I spent the next 2 days just smiling because I'd spent like 5 days just going, nothing's ever going to happen. This pain is forever now. As fatalistic as that sounds, it was so bad. I have a very high. I went to go stay with my parents, and in my childhood bedroom, I have a very tall bed. It goes up to about my stomach, and I had no way of getting into bed. I was literally climbing my bed. It was like a banister on the top, and I was like trying to like turn myself in, and it took like an hour to get out of bed, if not longer. In the mornings, I couldn't eat. I was like it was awful. But finally, I got the plate put in. I woke up. The next day, everyone was like, you just came out of surgery. I was like, yeah, and I'm in so much less pain now. They had no idea. They're like, my arm had swollen like a balloon because it's the second biggest bone in the body and it had just been bleeding. My fingers were like sausages. It finally having that dealt with. I was able to like move around, talk, get things done. So within the week, I was like, get me back to Worcester because the pain had decreased just exponentially already, just by not having it just shift around when I moved. But it
Right.
was a really surreal month.
So, and being someone, I mean, you are still very young,
Yeah.
but being someone who's been through what you've been through, being someone who has achieved what you've achieved so far, is there new BioPro students that you're mentoring, perhaps?
Oh yeah. I always get so excited when we get new women into training. It's my favorite thing in the world. And all the new kids. I kind of I pick and choose. I see them do their roles. I see them do their basic warm-ups. I maybe quiz them on a few things. The big thing for me, if I decide I'm like, I like you, is if they show up that week to help with ring crew. If they help with ring crew and they make it pretty consistently week over week, I go, okay, you clearly want to be here. It's not just that you have this idea of being a wrestler in your head, it's that you want to do the work to be a wrestler. And so those are people I immediately go, okay, well, this is how you do this. This is how you lock up. Here's a fun thing you can do from this. I'll immediately start. Yeah, I pick and choose my battles. And I think I've picked pretty well so far. We've got some new people in now that I'm very excited about them as well. But and obviously I'm no genius. I'm no wrestling master, but I have decent fundamentals, so I try and help where I can. And when I don't know, I try and help them find someone who can help. A thing I find most notably about newer kids is they get scared of talking to coaches or voicing a complaint or a concern. And so if I'm able to be the person who goes, "You look funny, what's going on?" and they go, "Oh, well, I was thinking maybe this," or "I was worried about this," I go, "Have you told anyone?" They go, "No." I go, "Well, then I'm telling them." And I go over and I'm like, "Hey, this person, like, their arm feels funny. They need to take a minute off," or "Hey, could you show them this again?" or "Could we go over this?" or something like that. Just I try and be a helping hand where I can be.
Yeah, that's very commendable. Maybe I'll divulge this one. It was actually kind of funny. The last wrestling open I was at, which was about like, I think 2 weeks ago. Um, but I had done the guest spot for the spotlight match, and after the show, I was talking to talent, um, mostly talking to Shannon because my daughter was very mad at me for being somewhere that Shannon was, and my daughter wasn't there,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. And one of the trainees walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, where do we put these things?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I've seen them put them in there." And then I was like, "Wait a second, why did you ask me?" And he's like, "Well, you were in the ring and you were dressed nicer than me, so I just
Oh my
assumed you knew what
God.
it is."
Who was it? Do you know who it was? Can you describe them?
Offline. I'll describe them offline.
My guess is Ryan. We have a guy who hasn't come around tried much.
Oh, okay. But it was just hilarious because obviously I don't work there. And then I had like a panic attack at like right after. I was like, oh my God, like what if DC thinks that I think I'm something special, or like,
No,
you know what I mean? Like, oh, he's
I,
gonna go like, that guy in the guy in the jacket said to put it over here, so that's what I did it. And
don't
then
worry. We have a lot of other students who will be like, "No, put it there." No,
right,
we're
right.
there for ages afterwards. It's not like it'd be like the venue's kicking us out because we put a rope somewhere wrong. Like it'll be fine.
Right. But there was like a slight, first I was just kind of like, why is this guy asking me questions? Like my brain couldn't wrap itself around, and then I was like, wait a second. And then he said the idea of, well, you were in the ring earlier and you're dressed nicer than me, ergo you must be someone who knows where things go. And I'm like, well, that is a logical conclusion, to be
He did his
fair.
best. He did his best.
That is a logical conclusion. I was readily available, I was standing close by, and I was earlier in the ring despite him not knowing who I was, and I am dressed nicely. I mean, this is my blue jacket. I've been normally wearing my red jacket, or I have a black jacket, but I normally have the tie and everything. So it was a logical conclusion,
Did his
based
best. He
upon,
did his best. Bless.
logic and reasoning and common sense. So, and luckily I was able to give him an answer. But then afterwards I was like, "Oh crap, am I going to get in trouble?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't work here. I don't want people thinking that I did this a couple times and now I think I'm super cool or something. Like, oh,
No, I can name a few regulars who probably know where half of the stuff goes and would be like, "Yeah, you just move it over there."
yeah, exactly. Which actually, that was my next question. Being someone who is, you work with the Wrestling Open, Beyond Wrestling, those shows have their regulars, their
Yeah.
diehards, right? Do you have any great stories? You don't have to name names, even though I probably know who they are if you were to describe them. Um, do you have any great stories about the the regulars, or just maybe crowds in general?
It's crowds are interesting because sometimes you go to somewhere and it has a completely different crowd than you had last time. I think the place I've seen this most is at WFA. And the way I see it the most is Love Duck. Whenever he wrestles there, the odds of them adoring him or wanting him dead, it is a real 50-50 every single show. And and the only way I'm able to tell the difference is if I were to guess how I could tell the difference, it would be how many frat boys are in that crowd. It's about my only way of telling. But it's amazing because he works as a baddie there, and he's always like, yeah, I never know what kind of reaction I'm gonna get. So it's tricky because someone like Wrestling Open, you do have a more reliable crowd where they like what they like, they dislike what they dislike. I'll tell you, my favorite regular is one of our sponsors, the lovely Adam Cardoza of DNA's Evolution, because he makes us all stickers. He's the
Oh
best.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
That's
designs
great.
them on his own. He prints them. He used to, I think, he used to like do a general sponsorship, but now he does it through merch, which is so much fun because we get so many. We never ask for specific stickers unless specifically we commission something. He just comes in every week with maybe two new sticker designs they came up with off the dome, and they're always deeply insulting to someone on the show. Just something mean spirited, and we just sell them. They're great. Bestsellers include a sticker that says, "I came here to see Rain Conway get beat up." Um, and anyone who goes, "Oh, that's mean," I go, "Then cut off the bottom line. I came here to see Rain Conway." I've sold stickers saying that. Um, he
That's
recently helped us
incredible.
book our lovely. We've got these little foam stand folding chairs that have our logos on them. Fun stuff like that. But I don't know. There's so many people there who like see the like real front of ring guys who always see me go, "Hi Lauren," or they make some joke. There's one guy who insists that I'm not English. He misheard me once at a show and thought that I'd admitted that I was faking it. And he won't let it down. Like I'm sure he knows, but he lives by it. And I'm like, this is crazy that you are willing to argue the point about this a year afterwards.
Wild. Wild.
But I don't know. We've
That's
got a lot of fun people. We've got a lot of real colorful characters at Wrestling Open. Like
you
people
do.
just they're just fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can shout out to my buddy, the other JJ. We call him the other JJ. Hot Pocket Master or whatever. He's always there in his complete leather attire. Um, because I just adore that kid, and he genuinely loves people, and every day, every time he's anywhere, he takes like 75 pictures with everybody he can. So you can just see the happiness that wrestling brings. I mean, what would wrestling really be without fans? I mean, we kind of learned that during the pandemic era.
And it's very little. Wrestling is
It's
very little
yeah,
without fun.
maybe 10 years ago, if you asked me that question, I would have been like, "Ah, fans suck." And then we went through the pandemic era, and I'm like, but
It's a
it's not
crowd
as
sport.
fun. We did
Uh,
a WrestleMania without crowd was very weird, and it took 16 hours. It's kind of funny though because I'm reading through my other questions that I had. It's hilarious how you answered a bunch of them without me even asking. Like I actually had a question about intergender and women's evolution and stuff like that, and
yeah.
you answered it, and I'm just like, oh crap, you beat me to the punch on plenty of
I'm
these things.
just that good. What can I
There you
say?
go. That's that good. I owe you some flowers. All right. No, um. So, man, we've been talking for a minute too. Two more questions and we'll wrap it up. I have
Okay.
been. I had this one. Tinsel the Elf versus. Am I saying this right? Abagor the Wicked at
Have a good week.
WWC Holiday Hijinks. How do you enjoy those gimmick bouts compared to the straight up competitions?
I love silly gimmicks. I mean, there's a reason I immediately like penguin costume, perfect. That was my first ever singles match on a wrestling show, which, if you watch it, it shows. I'm so proud of it. I still had a lot of fun with it, and I think I don't know. Tinsel the Elf's really fun. Tinsel is so much fun because it's a similar thing to ring announcing where I get to sort of wrap the show up in a bow. I'm there from the beginning of the pre-show. I do an opening monologue. I'm usually involved in one or two of the matches. Um, I just get to do a bunch of different things on those shows, really off the wall. I get to do dance numbers. I get to go on wrestling dates. I get to work with dancing robots. Yeah, yeah, and there's just a lot of really fun stuff to do. And that was the first time I was ever on one of their shows properly as well. So it's been really cool to sort of grow into the character. As much as when I first got it, I was like, this is ridiculous. Now I'm like, yeah, it's ridiculous. What costume do I get to wear this time? So, yeah.
See, that's great. And anybody who has seen me before knows that I love Simon Miller. I'm really very much excited to be spending 4 days with him next month. When we go to WrestleMania, and he's all about goofy wrestling for life. So, um, you talked about the idea of getting someone to come to the Open. I am certainly going to pitch the idea of Simon Miller coming to the Open. I'm just letting you know now. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if Drew would actually book this guy. I don't see why he wouldn't, but I'm definitely going to be like Simon because he's the king of goofy wrestling. Like he's
It's always
literally got.
worth a try. I know Drew loves a bit of goof. The Wrestling Open isn't often so much booked by Drew as it is kind of like run by Drew.
Right.
So Wrestling Open, you see a bit of the comedy, but on Beyond, I could definitely see goofier stuff coming in.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I want to see Simon Miller in New England, so I'm just gonna be like, listen, do you want to wrestle for any of these companies? Let's just call these people and see if they'll book you, man, because I just want
Yeah,
to see you in my neck of the woods.
always worth the old college try.
Yeah. Worst thing they're gonna say is no, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's got a few million fans on the internet, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the universe.
not at all.
And he's been wrestling for like 8 years now, 9 years now, I want to say. So it's not his first rodeo, is what I'm saying. Um, so since since JJ's not here today, she would ask a few questions. I'm not gonna poach her stuff. But to wrap up this conversation, which once again, thank you so much for being here today. So
Hey,
much
my
for
pleasure.
right. Thank you for talking to me for 3 hours and 6 minutes. Holy guacamole!
Time
I can't
flies.
I can't believe somebody actually beat Drager's time. We talked for like 2 hours and like 58 minutes, and then he gave me the "let's go home. I got to go to the bathroom" face. I think he was hungry actually. We actually kept talking on this platform.
I am looking forward to lunch. You're
He
not
was
wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's actually sitting in a bowl right there, um, nice and cold by now, but it's worth it. So once again, thank you so much for being here today. Let me pick your brain about all this stuff. Hopefully, Drager's happy because I know he was really looking forward to this one. Shout out to him. I owe him a beer too, I guess, which is funny since I don't even drink alcohol. I drink kava, so that's kind of silly. Um, so a bit of housekeeping, I guess I should do as a smart announcer would. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, I will be having bonus episodes where I'm bringing in influencers and artists and owners. These are going to be not wrestling related. These are going to be my general interests. So I have people who are vegans, who are gluten free. I already recorded one for somebody who is the owner of Lava Kava in Portland, Maine. I don't know if you've ever heard of kava, but kava is an ancient natural root that comes from the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, Fiji, Vanuatu, etc., and Samoa, right? And it actually isn't a natural anti-anxiety medication. It's very well versed and general, like actual natural normal kava is actually really good for you in general, and it actually has a reverse. And I always supposed to say this first. I'm not a doctor, but it is for the average person. It actually has a reverse effect. So the more often you drink it, the less you need. Unlike something like alcohol that has a regular tolerance, it actually has a reverse tolerance. So I am part of a business developer for the Root Awakening Kava Bar in Nashua, New Hampshire. with more about that coming very soon, everyone. So before I wrapped up, I want to make sure I said that. But there will be a bonus episode next Wednesday with, like I said, Miriam, who is the owner of Lava Cava in Portland, Maine. And the following Wednesday will be with the vegan influencer known as Maggie Eats Vegan. She will be coming on the podcast, and I will be announcing more at that time. And then once again, I am trying to get as many of these podcasts created as much as possible. So then when I go for 2 weeks to Las Vegas for wrestling in general, I can worry about creating content there and not here. So the lovely Lauren is here with me today. I will be also having Cash McGinnis, Patrick Wheatman this week. I also have Mike Grossa lined up this week. As I had mentioned, as much as the rest of the, the big business is coming on as well. And I'm also talking with Mr. Saturday Night. Corey Duke is going to be making an appearance on the show, as well as I could probably sit for another 5 minutes and name other people who are in talks with me. So I don't want to do that and bore Lauren to death because she's starving to death. So I'm going to get her going. Once again, you've been lovely. You've been amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. And I guess my final question for you, and this is the big one, right?
Okay,
If there
big
was
one.
something, this maybe not the big one, but definitely the last one because we're both
The
starving to death.
last but not
And I got to
least.
go pick up JJ from school. She's going to kill me. All right. So, if there was one thing that you could go back and tell a younger self about this journey that you've been on before, would you say anything at all, or would you leave it as is?
Oh, that's hard to say. Um, there's a lot I'd want to. If I had all the time in the world, there's so much I'd tell younger me. But if I went back, I would honestly be. This sounds crazy. I'd probably do something a bit darker. I'd warn myself that like it's gonna be way harder, and a lot of it is going to be less fun than you're gonna imagine. It's gonna be really difficult a lot of the time, and it's gonna be painful, and it's gonna be boring, or it's just gonna feel like wasted energy, wasted time. But when it isn't, every second of that is worth it.
That just that's a I think you're the first person to answer the question in that way, to be fair.
Yeah.
My brain was
The
trying to
lows
go,
are really low, but the highs are really high. Is kind of the thing, you know?
yeah. No, and that's valid, right? That's life, right? So much of life is built with, as John Lennon once said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Yeah.
Um, so you could sit there and tell yourself, this is exactly how I think it's going to go. And maybe you're right. But as it will be etched on my tombstone, and this is my own personal private philosophy that I take everywhere I go, sometimes in life it pays to be wrong, right? So many people sit there and they argue about the idea of I'm right, I know I'm right, and you can't stop me.
You learn
That's
nothing from being right all the time.
right. It's not I don't that's not literally possible.
Yeah.
I go into every argument or conversation. I'd prefer a conversation. I don't want to fist fight with people. That's not to say I can't do it. It's just it's too much energy. I don't got time
That's
for
a
this, right?
personal preference. I don't know about me, but
Right. Um, I always say I would rather I go into a conversation with someone and assume one thing about the universe, and then have you or someone you give me logic and reasoning, not just emotions, guys. You can't just be like, well, I feel like it's a better idea. Okay, well, feelings, that's nice, but I need scientific fact or like mathematics or something here to prove the point. Okay? I'd rather have them be like, but you didn't think of this. And I go, oh, you're so right. That does work. And then be like, I was wrong. Because for me, it has made so much personal and professional growth over the last 40 years. Going into a situation, knowing that I am human, I can make mistakes, and that truly, in my opinion, that as long as you're willing to learn from the choices you've made, nothing really is a mistake. It's just a learning opportunity. So I'll leave the audience with that. Once again, Lauren St. James. Everyone, make sure you follow her on stuff. Do you have merch or anything? I can't remember.
Only in person at the moment.
Okay,
So if you see me, usually at WFA, Wrestling Open, Beyond, Wrestling with Character, that'd be a good chance if you want any cool stickers.
there you go. You heard it from the woman. Follow her on all kinds of social medias, and I'm sure she's on everything under the sun. And if you see her in person, grab a sticker and get a sweet picture of her like super cool scar, right? There you go. So once again, thank you so much for being here, and everybody, I'll see you next time. Peace.